pretty I got. Damn. Damn, sooner or later, I'm gonna have a goddamn pretty eye me take though. Damn, shit, you doing another show for pretty eye? I can't deny her though. She's my bestie. She's my bestie. That's my bestie. Your pair of eyes had me paralyzed. Toxic nigga, but you made me to a better guy. Smoke, but with you on forever, ever. I can watch you all day, girl, like you televised. They like this nigga, they ain't never lied. I left the bitches alone, I had to pick a side. Look in your eyes, girl, you were hypnotized. Of course, it was your breasts, hips, and them damn thighs. Close my eyes, I'm still mesmerized. To get mad at my bestie, I tried. That's my bestie, my pretty.
I heard she's the one, she's got it going on. That's my pretty eyes, baby. Yeah, yeah. She don't take no mess. My bestie is the best. That's my pretty eyes, baby. Yeah, yeah. I heard she's the one, she's got it going on. That's my pretty eyes, baby. Yeah, yeah. She don't take no mess. My bestie is the best. That's my pretty eyes, baby. Yeah, yeah. Oh.
Hey, King Ivo, how are you? I went and shared your live out. Thank you for coming through. All right, I'm going to start the rest of day 6 and get into day 7 because this is, craziness.
Muted.
Court is back in session. You may be seated.
So, Mr. Jackson, you'll just alert me before you begin that line of questioning because I have an instruction.
Of course.
Okay. All right, Mr. Lally, your next witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The Commonwealth to call Sergeant Michael Lang to the stand.
Okay.
Can I ask you, Michael, to step up and do anything you want?
You solemnly swear the evidence you did in the court and jury in the case down here and the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do.
Good morning.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Lally, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name?
Michael Lank, L-A-N-K.
And how are you employed, sir?
I'm a lieutenant with the Canton Police.
And how long in total have you been a member of the Canton?
Over 24 years.
And how long have you held the rank of lieutenant with Canton?
It'll be 2 years in August.
Now, prior to, well, let me ask you first, with reference to your responsibilities as lieutenant, if you could explain to the jury just in general terms, what are your duties and responsibilities as a lieutenant?
I oversee the gun licensing and patrol.
And prior to working as a lieutenant, what was your role with the Canton Police before that?
I was a detective sergeant
And how long were you a detective sergeant?
from September of 21 until
It's good. How is yours?
August of 22.
And during that time frame as a detective sergeant, what were your duties and responsibilities with regard to the Canton Police staff?
To oversee the detective bureau, ensure that all reports were issued to respective detectives and completed.
Now, you're also familiar with the role within Canton Police as a sort of shift sergeant, is that correct?
Yes.
And if you could explain to the jury, sort of what are the differences between what a shift sergeant does and what a detective sergeant does?
Shift sergeant's primary responsibility is to run the daily shift, give out sectors to each of the cars, and dispatch cruisers to appropriate areas, so forth.
And if I could turn your attention to the morning of January 29th, 2020.
It is. Thank you.
After 6 a.m.
I'm glad you're doing well.
To dispatch the jury department Henderson.
Yes.
And who, if anyone, called you around that time?
Sergeant Sean Good.
You know approximately what time Sergeant Good called?
I believe it was 6:08.
And with reference to that call, the initial call from Sergeant Good, what if any information did he relay to you at that time?
Sergeant Good stated that there was a gentleman found in the snow at 34 Fairview Road, and he was in very grave condition. And he brought it to my attention that he was also a Boston police officer.
And subsequent to that, through the course of your investigative work on this case, did you learn who that unresponsive male was?
Yes,
And who did you learn?
John O'Keefe.
And
Thank you.
upon receiving that call, where did you go?
I went to 34
I'll come
Fairview
over
Road.
when I'm done.
And if you know about what time would you estimate that you arrived in the area of 34 Fairview Road?
I live fairly close, so I was on scene by, I believe it was 6:24, 6:25.
And upon your arrival, who, if anyone else from your department, was there prior to you?
Officer Sarif, Officer Mullaney, and Sergeant Good.
And when you arrived, beyond sort of the other officers from your department, what, if any, other activity or what, if any, other persons did you observe on scene?
When I arrived, I observed that the ambulance was still there. There was multiple EMTs, and I observed some witnesses also.
And with respect to the ambulance, it's your understanding Mr. O'Keefe was in that ambulance?
Yes,
Did you ever see Mr. O'Keefe on that one?
I did not.
And at some point, the other officers who preceded your arrival, did they direct you to where Mr. O'Keefe was found when they first arrived?
They did.
And where was that sort of in relation to the property, as you recall?
If you're looking at 34 Fairview Road, it was on the left side of the property, about 8 feet from the road.
And in that sort of general area, what, if any, sort of landmarks or other sort of items in that area of the front yard did you observe?
I observed a flagpole. There was a fire hydrant and some brush area over there.
And upon your arrival on scene, who was the first person that you spoke to?
Sergeant Sean Good.
And you had some conversation with him, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then following talking to Sergeant Good, who, if anyone else, did you speak to on scene?
I spoke to Jennifer McCabe.
And where was it in relation to the scene that you first spoke to Jennifer McCabe?
I believe I spoke to Jennifer McCabe right in front of Mark Cruiser 683, which was assigned to Officer Sarif.
Of course, you talked to Jennifer McCabe. Mm-hmm. Yep, we know. You had to concoct the story. We get it.
And then about how long a conversation was that initially with Ms. McCabe?
Did you write anything down, sir? Did you take a report, sir? I bet you didn't, did you?
I would say probably 8 or 9 minutes.
And in addition to Ms. McCabe, what, if any, other sort of civilians did you observe in that area around that time?
I observed Kerry Roberts, and I don't recall seeing anybody else at the scene while I was focused on Ms. McCabe.
Now,
Why were you focused on McCabe? She didn't lose a fucking boyfriend. Oh, let me guess. She's in shock and horror, like she says, right? Right? Get the fuck out of here. You were focused on Miss McCabe to concoct a fucking story.
with respect to Jennifer McCabe, I'll strike that. So after you spoke with Ms. McCabe for 8 or 9 minutes, then who, if anyone else, did you speak to at that time?
So after I spoke with Ms. McCabe, I believe I was able to then
Daniel.
contact the CPAC unit.
And what is the CPAC unit?
CPAC unit is the investigative division for the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office.
Why did you contact them?
Because I was made aware at some point that it did not appear that Mr. O'Keefe was going to survive, and I wanted them to be aware of the situation.
And did they respond at that time?
No,
Now,
no,
with
because
reference
hey,
to-
hey, it's no rush that fellow brother in blue, another police officer lost his life in suspicious circumstances. It's no big rush, no, because we're gonna use leaf blowers and red Solo cups like we're throwing a fucking party, right? Rather than investigating what happened to him.
is that sort of a typical protocol, or what, if any, sort of typical protocol would you have responding to a scene of this nature?
Yes, any sort of scene where it appears that the person is not going to survive, we would contact State Police CPAC unit
And why is that?
because they investigate all deaths.
So they have jurisdiction over all unattended deaths, is that correct?
That's correct.
Well,
Then why the fuck didn't they come?
Correct.
Now,
Motherfucking liar.
Once you, your call with anyone you spoke to on that first call or notification to
Hold on. So you were the lead detective when Sandra Birchmore, death, sir, when the other police officer is accused of taking her life instead of her doing self-harm to herself. I don't remember any Mass State Police. Oh wait, Fanning was in charge of that. My bad. Whoops. But you still were a detective in that case, sir. And here you are in another officer involved shit. Dirty.
It would have been just the dispatch center on the first call.
I don't know how.
and what if any
I
subsequent?
don't know how you mother chuggers have a job still. I really don't. Because you abuse that badge mighty well. You've been abusing it for a long time, huh, Sergeant Link?
Calls that you have with regard to CPAC while you were on scene that morning.
I got a return call from Trooper Michael Proctor.
And from your conversation with Trooper Proctor, what was your understanding as far as their response to the scene at that time?
So at that point in time, Trooper Proctor informed me that they would not be responding.
I don't know what that noise is, but it's
supposed to be a lead investigator in a case, and he doesn't respond.
Yes. In speaking to Trooper Proctor, he advised me at that point that they would not be responding.
And did he inform you as to why not at that time?
Objection.
Sustained.
Now, when you arrived on scene, what, if anything, did you note as far as the weather?
Because he was too busy gonna
The weather conditions were extremely poor. There were high winds,
don't even have probable
heavy
cause.
snow, and
Oh,
freezing
it was
temperatures.
snowing. We get it.
Now,
It didn't seem too bad to me. The time you were there, sir.
you mentioned when you first arrived on scene, Mr. O'Keefe is in the back of that ambulance. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And when was it that the ambulance left in relation to when you arrived?
Very, very shortly after I arrived, I would say within 5 minutes.
Now, as far as injuries to Mr. O'Keefe, who, if anyone, relayed any information in regard to that?
Sergeant Good advised me that
Objection.
Sustained.
Hearsay. Can't ask that, Lolly.
Now, as far as following your conversation with Ms. McCabe, what was sort of the next steps?
We're in 45 minutes. Wow.
after I spoke to Ms. McCabe, I advised her that we were going to need to speak with the homeowners. She said that they were probably sleeping. I advised her that we were going to need to speak with them. And that's when I placed the call to the CPAC unit.
Yeah, we're going to have to speak to the homeowners, but we're not going to search their fucking house, right? Oh, they're probably sleeping. As she called them at 6 in the fucking morning, they weren't asleep. They were trying to advise a fucking plan. Get the fuck out of here. You're a first responder and you don't fucking see lights, hear sirens, your dog barking because fucking cars are outside, commotion going on. You don't bother to fucking wake up. Oh yeah, you're that incapacitated and that drunk. Okay, cool. But you were able to have a conversation with the fucking detectives? It don't make sense.
And prior to that, when you were on scene, had you seen anyone come in or go out of the residence at 34 Fairview Road?
No.
And
Jen did. Jen did.
as far as sort of the other houses on the street, what, if any, activity did you observe with reference to any residents of those homes coming in?
Oh, they're gonna say they didn't come out. They're gonna downplay it. They didn't come out. I bet you they fucking did. How the fuck did you get red Solo cups from a neighbor?
Going out of their homes?
I did not observe anybody come in or out of their home.
Yeah.
Following your initial call to see back in conversation with Trooper Proctor, what is it that you did next?
Once that call was complete, Sergeant Good and I observed that there was now a light on in the house of 34 Fairview, and we made the decision to then go in and speak with the homeowners.
And how was it that you sort of proceeded up to the home?
I believe I don't recall if we used I believe we used the driveway, but I'm not 100% sure.
And you came into the home, recall which door that you used to enter the home.
The main door, the front door.
When you entered in through the main door, what, if you could describe to the jury sort of what you observed as far as what was before you from a layout perspective?
There was a staircase right in front of us, and to the right, it entered into like what appeared to be like a dining area.
And who, if anyone, did you speak with inside the home that morning?
Brian Albert and Nicole Albert.
And what, if any, relationship to the home did you determine based on your conversation with them?
They were the homeowners.
Now, Brian Albert, is that someone that you knew prior to January 29th, 2022?
Yes,
And how did you?
I knew him as the oldest of the Albert brothers.
And did you know some of the other Albert brothers?
Yes,
And let me ask you this, Sergeant. Where did you grow up?
Canton.
And how long have you lived in Canton?
We moved here, excuse me, we moved to Canton when I was 5 years old.
So essentially, since you were 5 years old, you lived in the town, correct?
Yes,
You work in the town, correct?
yes,
Do you have children?
So he's
I do.
well connected.
Any of them play sports?
they do.
Objection.
I'm sustained.
Move to strike.
Like that?
What, if any, other sort of, other than living and working in the town, what, if anything else, is it that you do around the town?
I coach youth sports.
And how long have you done that for?
Oh, you're a coach too? Fuck. Hey, Head. What a dirty
I would
son
say
of a
at
bitch.
least 9 or 10 years.
And how would you
Dirty.
describe your relationship with Brian Albert prior to that January 29th, 2022?
Well, that's
Civil-
how you know Jen McCabe, is you coach
Do you
fucking
friends? Do you
sports.
socialize?
No,
Now, in addition to Brian Albert and Nicole Albert, who, if any,
Quit trying to fucking like distance yourself, okay? Quit it. You actually are pretty, you know them pretty fucking well. If you are arresting one Albert brother and the other Albert brother, you fucking decide to help get in a fist fight with two other fucking brothers, sir. So you know that clan pretty fucking well, if you ask me. But you want to downplay it, huh? Fuck out of here.
if anyone else, where did you speak to them within the home?
just inside the door by the staircase.
And how would you describe their demeanor when you were speaking to them?
They appeared, especially Mr. Albert, appeared disheveled, looked like he had just woken up.
And about how long the conversation
No, he
was
probably was disheveled because he beat the fuck out of somebody and they died. Fucking idiot. Like he just woke up. Give me a fucking break. He was probably still halfway drunk and disheveled that he fucking hurt somebody beyond oblivion and all cops are outside his house.
Brian Albert and Nicole Albert, that initial time.
I'd say 15, 20 minutes.
And beyond that, who, if anyone else, did you see within the home besides yourself, Sergeant Goods, and Mr. and Mrs. Albert?
Jennifer McCabe.
No one else at that time?
No.
Are you familiar with a gentleman named Brian Hayes?
I am.
And how are you familiar with him?
I met Brian when he was stationed at our police station. I don't know how many years ago it was, but he was assigned to our building years ago. That's how I met him.
And assigned in what capacity? What I mean by that, what did he do for work?
Brian is a ATF agent.
And did you see Mr. Higgins at any point in time during the time that you were at Fairview Road that morning?
Not on my initial response.
So sometime after, is that correct?
Yes,
And when about was that?
that would have been shortly after 9 a.m.
And we'll get to that in a moment. But after your conversation with Brian Albert and Nicole Albert inside the house, what is it that you did then?
Could you repeat that, please?
After talking to the homeowners, what was your next step on scene that day? What did you do next?
After speaking with the family, came out. By that point, Lieutenant Gallagher was on scene and spoke with Lieutenant Gallagher as to what we were going to do next as far as the scene itself.
And to that end, what, if anything, did you or the other officers do with regard to sort of security of the scene at that time?
So we had put up some crime scene tape to try to protect the scene, but it was a futile effort because of the wind. But there were marked patrol cars in front of the yard at all times, so the scene was fairly
So
secure
you didn't
at all times.
cordon off the whole fucking.
And then
Imagine that.
with relation to the scene or the area that you were directed, or your attention was directed to as to where Mr. O'Keefe had been found, what, if anything, did you do with reference to that area?
I stood by and observed while Lieutenant Gallagher used a leaf blower to try to clear the top layers of snow off of the scene.
And at some point in time, well, that particular process, was that memorialized in any way?
Yes,
And how was it done?
in my report.
I'm sorry, beyond that, was there any sort of photos or video that were taken of that leaf blower process?
Yes, Sergeant Good was able to take video while Lieutenant Gallagher used a leaf blower.
You've seen that video, is that correct?
Yes,
And what's contained in that video, is that a fair and accurate portrayal of sort of what happened on scene that morning?
yes.
Now, in addition to, well, let me ask you this, as far as the leaf blower was concerned, what was sort of the purpose of that? What was the thing?
The purpose behind the leaf blower was to just take the top layers of snow off to reveal what was underneath and try to preserve any potential evidence.
And upon employing that, what, if anything, did you then observe in that area of the front lawn?
Ultimately, we were able to see what appeared to be blood drops in the snow, as well as a drinking glass, cocktail glass.
Now, in addition to the video that was taken with regard to the leaf blowing process, or the use of the leaf blower.
But no
photos that
red
were taken
tail light
as well.
pieces.
Yes,
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have exhibit number 27.
Need to go smoke.
Sergeant Lang, what's up on the screen that's been previously marked as exhibit 27? Do you recognize that?
yes.
And what do you recognize it to be?
I recognize that to be the scene that we were working with the leaf blower.
May I approach the witness room?
This is the whole thing. Okay.
So I'm handing you a laser pointer, basically, very simple. Just press on that button and
Okay, thank you.
I am going to
Lieutenant
smoke. I
Lang,
will be in the
using
shop.
that laser pointer, if you could
You'll
draw
hear.
your attention to what, if anything,
I'll
of
be back like
significance,
I never
you
left.
observed in this photograph in relation to what you saw on scene that day.
So it appeared to see blood drops here in the snow that had been revealed by wiping away the top layer, as well as the glass protruding from the snow.
Thanks.
Yeah, no tail light pieces.
Now, at any point in time when you were on scene, did you have any contact or interaction with a person named KARENREAD?
I did not.
Did you see her on scene at all that day?
I don't recall seeing her. I believe she was there while I was there, but I never spoke to her.
Now, following your initial conversation inside the home of 34 Fairview with Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, and speaking to Jennifer McCabe outside, who, if anyone else, did you speak with that arrived on scene that morning?
Matthew McCabe.
And when was it that Matthew McCabe arrived in relation to your arrival and when you spoke to the other?
Matthew McCabe arrived just a couple of minutes after I had walked out of the house the first time.
And so when he arrived, where did you go?
Moments after he arrived, I went back into the house to speak with Mr. McCabe.
And about how long a conversation was it that you were in the house when you were speaking to Mr. McCabe?
I'm not sure. I'd say maybe 5 minutes.
And over the course of that morning, about how many times did you go into the residence at 34 Fairview Road?
3.
Anyone ever tell you that you couldn't go into the home or that you stopped you at the doorway or anything like that?
No.
And with reference to inside of the home, what, if any, observations did you make of sort of how it was situated, anything disheveled or anything like that?
Everything appeared in order.
And just if you know, what, if any, relationship does Matthew McCabe have to Jennifer?
Matthew McCabe is Jennifer McCabe's husband.
Now, turning back to what was just up on the screen in Exhibit 27, with regard to those items that you observed in the yards in the front lawn that day, what, if anything, did you or the other officers do with respect to those items?
The drinking glass was secured into an evidence bag, and the blood drops were secured into 6 solo cups.
And why were they secured into 6 solo cups?
We did the best that we could with the situation, with the weather and deteriorating situation. Lieutenant Gallagher was able to attain the solo cups from Lieutenant Kelleher's house, which was diagonally across the street.
Now, with respect to the CPAC unit or the phone call that you made to the state police, beyond sort of the jurisdiction of them having over unattended deaths and things of that nature, what, if any, other assets that the state police have at their disposal with regard to crime scene that your department has done?
They have crime scene units that process crime scenes.
Now, with respect to those items, once they were secured, just in reference to the solo cups, beyond sort of just putting them into solo cups, what, if anything else, did you or the other officers do to secure those items specifically?
They were secured into a brown evidence bag.
And following them being secured, where do they go from there?
They were then, excuse me, they were then placed into my truck at that point, my police truck that I was using that day, and ultimately transported back to the police station
And transported back to the police station by you.
by me.
And once you were back at the police station with those items, what, if anything, did you do with them at that time?
They were secured into temporary evidence in the refrigerated unit for the solo cups, and the glass was secured into temporary evidence.
And so when you say temporary evidence, why were they secured into temporary evidence?
They were secured into temporary evidence so that they could ultimately be turned over to the state police.
And as far as when you secure something into temporary evidence, just in general terms first, what is it that you do with that item to secure it or label it or anything else?
So it's assigned a property number, and we would print out a property label, and then that's assigned. It's assigned to the OF number, which is the report
The OF stands for a report offense, is that correct?
offense. Yes,
So each report that you generate has a specific number with an OF following it,
that's correct.
and then that number is associated with the evidence that you secure, correct?
Yes.
Now, with reference to that evidence, whether it's temporary evidence or otherwise, what, if any, restrictions are there with regard to access to those items within your department?
So temporary evidence is accessible to all officers.
And to officers from your department, correct?
From our department, yes.
And following that, are you aware, or what, if anything, are you aware of what happened with those items after you secured them into temporary evidence?
I believe they were ultimately turned over to the state police.
May I approach the witness?
Yes.
So I'm handing you up a box. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what do you recognize that to be?
Appears to be a box to secure evidence with a call number on it.
And is that a box that you've seen earlier today?
Yes.
And with reference to what's contained within the box, have you seen that this morning as well?
Yes.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask that the witness be allowed to take what's in the box out of the box. Okay. Sir, just for the record, you have some evidence gloves with you in court today, is that correct?
That's correct.
Sorry, sir, before you just go into that, just with reference to the bag that you have before you, what, if any, markings are on that relate to sort of your case, your case number with Kansas Police?
So it is there's a case number assigned to us, 22-87OF, and there is a property number, 22-18PR, and it's listed as broken drinking glass.
Have
And
you seen the item contained within that bag earlier this morning as well?
yes,
And what you observed within that bag, is that the piece of the cocktail glass that you observed on the front yard area of 34 Fairview Road on January 29th, 2022?
yes, it is.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask that the witness be allowed to take it out of the bag and display it for the jury.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. We can place it back in the bag. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, Commonwealth, seek to introduce in the minutes the next exhibit.
25.
Now, Lieutenant Lank, once you were back at the police station, what, if any, call did you receive from anyone in regard to who, if anyone, called you once you were back at the station?
Jennifer McCabe called at 9 a.m.
And where did you go following that phone call with Jennifer McCabe?
Lieutenant Gallagher and I went back to 34 Fairview Road.
So this is now the third time that you've gone back and gone inside the residence of 34 Fairview Road, is that correct?
That's correct.
And who, if anyone, did you speak with along with yourself and Lieutenant Gallagher once you returned there that morning?
Jennifer McCabe.
Okay, but how long a period of conversation was that second conversation that you had with Mr. McCabe?
Between 5 and 10 minutes.
And then following that, where did you go from there?
Returned to the police station.
Now, if I could turn your attention to February 4th of 2022. Were you working on that day?
I was.
And in the same capacity that you had described earlier?
Yes.
And at some point, approximately 8:50 a.m. or so, who, if anyone, called you on that day?
Lieutenant Gallagher.
And what, if anything, or where did he direct you to go during the course of that conversation?
Lieutenant Gallagher directed me to go back to 34 Fairview Road and meet with Chief Berkowitz as he had possibly discovered more evidence.
And in the time between January 29th and February 4th, had you gone back to 34 Fairview Road at any point?
No.
Now, between that time of January 29th, 2022 and February 4th of 2022, what, if anything, occurred in regards to the weather in between those days?
So the weather had, the temperatures had increased and there was some rain.
And increased, if you know approximately how much?
I believe it made it up to the mid 40s.
So well above freezing, is that correct?
Correct.
And with regard to the snowfall that had come from the 28th and the 29th, what, if anything, just in general, had you, well, not in general, specifically to 34 Fairview Road, what, if anything, did you observe between the snow that you observed there on the 29th and the snow that you observed there on February 4th?
A lot of the snow had melted and a lot of the ground had been revealed.
And when you arrived at 34 Fairview Road on February 4th, what, if anything, did you observe and where did you observe?
Chief Berkowitz brought my attention to a piece of red glass that was about 6 to 8 feet off the into the yard.
Now, before we get to that, as far as when you responded, who, if anyone else from your department, responded along with you?
Detective Tim Taylor.
And the pieces of plastic that you observed, where were they in relation to where you had observed or where you had been directed to that Mr. O'Keefe had been found on January 29th?
The glass was in the vicinity of where Mr. O'Keefe had been discovered.
Now, with respect to that pieces of plastic that you observed, what, if anything, did you do to memorialize where they were?
I photographed the piece of plastic as it sat.
And did you or anyone in your presence touch, manipulate, or move those pieces of plastic in any way?
No.
And at some point after you arrived on scene, who, if anyone, did you contact in regard to securing those items?
I contacted the CPAC unit and ultimately Trooper Buchanan arrived back at the scene.
And if you know about how much time elapsed between the time that you...
Hold on a minute. Okay, you guys fucking... Somebody calls you 6 days later after the crime scene was left unmonitored. And, oh, I found some more evidence. Come and get it. Are you serious, dude? And you were supposed to be recused. What are you doing going to get more evidence? You were supposed to be recused. What the fuck?
Contacted CPAC in the time that...
I honestly don't recall.
And when Trooper Buchanan arrived on scene, what, if anything, did you observe him to do with those pieces of plastic that you directed his attention to?
Trooper Buchanan secured the item into a evidence bag.
Mind you, that's the only
Troy.
fucking, pictures you guys took. You didn't take any others.
So I'm showing you two photographs. ask you just briefly to look them over and look up when you're finished. Do you recognize those, sir?
I do.
What do you recognize in those photographs?
I recognize this to be the piece of plastic that Chief Berkowitz had observed on that morning.
Those are the photographs that you took that morning as well, is that correct?
That's correct.
What's contained in those photographs, is that a fair and accurate portrayal of what you observed on February 4th, 2022?
Yes, it is.
Now, the Commonwealth seek to introduce in the minutes the next two exhibits.
Okay.
Hey, West Sider Rider, don't you start. I don't need tomato on my face. Hey, Dart.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have first of those photographs up on screen.
Sick and fucking wrong, man. I wish a motherfucker would.
Lieutenant Lang, do you recognize what's
my
depicted up on
house.
screen currently?
Yes.
And,
Fucking
this is sort of a
ridiculous.
Further out image of that piece of plastic you were talking about, is that correct?
Yes.
Using the laser pointer before you, if you could just draw the jury's attention to
Just
where
right
the
there in the
photographs are.
open, just right out there so you can find it.
Thanks. Ms.
Like
Gilman,
it
the
was
next
just sprinkled there, motherfucking bitch. This
And
is,
sir, do you again recognize
this
what's
is
up on
why
screen?
cops like
Yes,
you are the
that's
reason
a
why
closer
cops get a
close-up
bad
picture
rap,
of the piece of plastic.
motherfucker. Plain and simple.
Thank you. Ms. Gilman, you can. If I may have.
Yes. Hurry the fuck up. Wally. Dirty. I'd be suing every last fucking one of you motherfuckers. I swear to God. Hurry the fuck up. What's taking so long, Lolly?
Okay, Jackson?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Let's
May
go,
we approach
Jackson.
briefly?
Sure.
Really? Why are you guys gonna fuck? God, I hate this shit.
All right, jurors, so you're about to hear evidence of an event that happened in 2002. This evidence can be considered by you insofar as it demonstrates or relates to the credibility of this witness and the thoroughness of the investigation into this case for which the defendant is currently on trial before you folks. You may use this evidence to the extent that you find it credible in deciding whether there was any bias or favoritism on the part of the police in their investigation in
there was
this
bias.
case.
That was complete.
Yeah.
Mr. Jackson, yes.
Lieutenant Lank, I want to start by asking you about your relationship with certain members of the Albert family. Do you know any other members of the Albert family other than Brian Albert?
Yes.
Can you describe who those are?
Kevin Albert, who is a detective on our department, Chris Albert, and I know Tim Albert.
And I
Are
know
those three
Brian
individuals
Albert.
brothers?
Yes,
Who is the eldest brother?
Brian.
How long have you known? I want to start first with Tim Albert. How long have you known Tim Albert?
I knew Tim Albert when he was a kid because he was friends with a younger brother of a friend of mine.
Starting at what age?
12.
So you've known,
He was 12. I was probably 16 or so.
okay. So the better part of your life, you've known Tim Albert.
Since about 16, I would say.
And what about Chris Albert?
Chris Albert, I've known since junior high,
Which would be about what age?
13, 14,
You grew up
12,
with Chris
12, 13. I was friendly with Chris from junior high through high school and into our 20s.
and friendly with Tim.
I wouldn't say I was friendly to say hello to Tim. I didn't associate with him. He was younger. He was Chris's younger brother.
But you also knew Chris's older brother, Brian.
Yes.
Back in those days.
I knew who he was.
So you've known the three of them for basically your entire life.
No, I had met them. I had met Brian. I didn't know him other than just being Chris's older brother when we were younger kids.
Certainly with regard to Chris, you would consider him a close friend.
Consider who a close friend?
Chris. I'm
Yes.
using first names only because they're all.
Sure. Chris and I were pretty good friends when we were younger, yes.
I want to draw your attention to
Trying to
an
just
incident in
keep
August of
yourself up for it.
2002. Do you remember an incident in 2002 occurring with that involved Chris Albert?
Yes.
In 2002, in August of 2002 specifically, you were off duty, correct?
Yes.
You had been drinking alcohol, correct?
Yes.
You were approached by Chris Albert out in a parking lot, is that right?
That's correct.
And Chris Albert told you some information about being in a fight. That
Yes.
he had been in a fight or an altercation of some sort, correct?
He told me he had been in an altercation earlier in the night and some threats had been made to him and his family.
Yes.
And you got out of your car and discussed this with Mr. Albert, correct?
No.
You just talked to him while you were seated in your car?
Yes.
Okay. At some point,
Why
some
did
other
you get out of your
individuals
car
approached
then?
that same area.
Yes.
Was there a fight that you believed was about to ensue?
Yes.
Did you get out of your car at that point?
I did.
Did you come to Chris's aid by quote unquote activating yourself as an officer?
I got out of my car and I approached the group and I pleaded with them to not fight tonight. I said, there's not going to be a fight tonight. There's 6 of you guys. He's here with his girlfriend. There's not going to be a fight tonight.
Did you come to Chris Albert's aid as best you could as a longtime friend of his?
I came to the aid of a citizen who was in fear and in need.
That citizen happened to be Chris Albert, whom you had known since you were 12 years old.
Correct.
Ultimately, a fight did break out, did it not?
Yes.
And you engaged in that fight.
Yes.
And again, you had been drinking alcohol at that point, correct?
Correct.
And you were off duty in August of 2002 during this fight.
Yes.
Just like you were off duty in 2022 when you were called by Sergeant Good to activate and come to the crime scene.
Yes.
34 Fairview.
Yes.
When Sergeant Good contacted me, I was not working. I was due to work at 7:45 that morning. When Sergeant Good contacted me and told me what was going on, then I activated myself and came to work because I was the detective sergeant.
And that's similar sort of
No.
activation, I'm using that word in air quotes, it's similar sort of activation that
This
you
one-
employed back in 2000.
It's kind of sad. This one is about a girlfriend of a police officer that died in the snow. He had 2 black eyes, a laceration right here, a cut right here, a cut back here, and it looked like a dog attacked him right here. And the homeowner is a Boston cop, which they're getting into right now. And also his friend that they're talking about an incident that happened in 2002 with the homeowner's younger brother that's a select boardman for the town that they live in. It's his good friend. And he obviously always comes to his aid, I guess. Beats me. But he helped him out in a brawl when he was drinking. Deputized himself as a fucking cop while he was off duty and drunk. Handcuffed one of the dudes, sucker punched him, and ultimately went to the station, tried to get witness intimidation charges put on him, put assault battery charges on him. And the 2 brothers decided that they would sue him. So they had a civil suit against him. But yeah. So anyways, they only care about their brothers in blue if they're alive. If they're dead, it don't matter. But yeah, so she's accused of backing up into him, going 22 miles an hour in the snow, and there's no tire marks. She didn't end up in the lawn. She didn't end up in the house. They find these taillight pieces miraculously after they confiscate her vehicle when she only had a cracked taillight from that morning to go find him. She ran into his car and she cracked a little hole in her taillight, and they decided to bust it all up and say that she hit him. And the only thing damaged on her car is a fucking taillight. He doesn't look like he's been hit by a car. He doesn't show the lower extremities being hurt. All this, and she's going up for a retrial on April 1st. So yeah, so I'm watching the first trial because I'm going to be watching the second trial. Yeah.
2002 to assist Chris Albert.
No,
Yes, you
You did,
did.
in fact, call for someone to call the police and get some Canton officers over there, correct?
excuse me. So in 2002?
In 2002.
Yes,
Okay. And I failed to ask you this, but in 2002, you were, in fact, a Canton police officer
yes.
at the time.
It is. It is.
After the other officers arrived, did you order the
No
other
problem.
officers to handcuff or somehow restrain one of the two brothers that were involved in this fight with Chris?
No.
Ultimately, did you see whether or
Why?
not those officers handcuffed or otherwise restrained one of the brothers that was involved in this fight?
Yes.
And did you then engage
Dirty
physically in a fight with the other brother who was not restrained?
Yes.
No. There had already been, the struggle had already occurred.
All right. So let me make sure I get the timing right. You did, in fact, engage in a physical fight with one of the brothers, correct?
Yes.
Upon being struck, yes.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Upon being struck, yes.
And then you struck him back.
Yes.
You ended up on the ground.
Yes, we were wrestling, yes.
And ultimately, the other officers had to pull you off the
Wrestling?
man, correct?
No.
You ultimately, the fight was broken up between you and the other brother. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. And that fight was broken up by the officers who were on scene.
Yeah.
This isn't the only, and the feds got involved in this case. This isn't the only like weird death occurrence that's happened in their city. There was another one where there was a pregnant girl that they said that she self-harmed herself and took herself out. And it was actually, she was the girlfriend of a cop that had been grooming her since the age of 15. He was there just right before she supposedly took herself out. And there was no evidence that she was sad or anything. She was excited about to be a mom and all that stuff. And I'm guessing he took her out because his wife was having a baby that day. And he was like, oh, fuck, I can't hide this anymore. She's about to have my baby too, you know? And so, yeah, so they love to cover for their own. Just.
Yes.
After this physical altercation with the brother who was not ultimately restrained,
Well,
both of the brothers and everybody else was
I can say, thank goodness I don't live in Canton, Massachusetts, because baby, ain't no effing way. Oh, and the lead investigator in this case, this is not him. He doesn't come until way later, but because they try to, they try to show the evidence without him, because they knew that he was under internal affairs, and stuff. So he lost his job for making inappropriate texts about the cop's the cop's girlfriend, the one that passed away on the lawn of the other cop, was saying that talking about her physical ailments, showing bias. So he lost his job. He lost his job for covering up for these fucks. And guaranteed, if the shoe was on the other foot, they wouldn't be covered for him. There ain't no fucking way. Ain't no way. And I don't know any house where you find a dead person in their front lawn and the house ain't getting searched. Only in a cop's yard, I guess. It's just, they used leaf blowers and red Solo cups to collect evidence. This case is dumb. And 6 days later, that's when miraculously they find, well, they went back that night with the CERT team. They found like 3 pieces of taillight, his shoe, and his hat, but they didn't find any of that, when there was only like 3 inches of snow. They went back when it was 1.5 feet of snow and miraculously found it. Yeah, right. Anyways, and then go back 6 days later and they find 2 more pieces. This case is a whole shit show. Like, I don't even know why these prosecutors decided to try this case.
was just told by the officers, just go away, get out of here, go home, correct?
No, I believe one of the brothers left the scene, fled the scene, and the brother that was restrained was ultimately uncuffed and left
Well, of
free to go.
course he was
And nobody was
uncuffed,
arrested that night.
'cause
Correct.
You were
They chased
dirty.
down the brother that left the scene. correct?
That's correct.
And nobody arrested
Hey,
the brother
Cole
that had been hit.
Pepsi.
Correct.
And no police reports were written by you or any of the other officers about this incident on
Nope.
that night.
Nope.
I don't recall when the other
don't like
officers
to
wrote
write
theirs. I did not
reports.
write
Shut
mine
up now.
on that night.
This
The
whole
next
case,
day,
they
you
don't have
became
reports.
aware that
They don't have
one or
chain
both
of
of the brothers
custody.
had
They don't have
arrived at Canton
it.
Police Department to file a formal complaint for having been physically attacked by you and some of the other officers involved, correct?
I don't recall when I was made aware that they had come down to the police station.
You are
Yeah,
aware
but
that
you,
there was a complaint
They have a lot
sought
of
against
suspicious
you for the
video.
physical
They
attack
have
that was
suspicious
alleged to have
fucking photos. This whole case is. They take screenshots of messages. They take a federal fucking agent that was in the house that night. They take his messages from him without extracting his fucking phone because he threw it in a military base. So fucking he didn't get caught. He was fucking texting KARENREAD fucking 2 weeks prior, and she ghosted him. And then all of a sudden he sees her at the waterfall with fucking John. He's like, well. And then, and he was like calling him on, like, come on, in the video. That's about the only fucking video that wasn't doctored by these motherfuckers.
correct?
It was brought to my attention that they had come down to the police station.
And you also are aware that only after that complaint had been sought, the police reports were then dated and filed against the two brothers, correct?
So I had spoken to the sergeant
It's not
on
even
duty
self-
the night of the incident.
He's claiming self-defense, but he got involved in the brawl. Like he wasn't even in the brawl. If fucking his friend came and asked him for help, which is one of the fucking cop's brothers that the other cop was found dead on. It's just this happened. This that they're questioning him about happened in 2002. They're trying to see if he's going to be forthcoming, and he's trying to distance himself. Fucking altercation. Then they're going to talk to him about the other brother that he busted in 2012 or something for driving drunk, but didn't charge him with driving drunk and causing an accident and leaving the scene. He only got charged with hit and run.
It's not a yes or no question.
So he was just asking you about dates. So can you answer the question?
It's like mob mentality, man. And what's funny is the new prosecutor that they, had to hire is a defense attorney, and he is a defense attorney for fucking mob boss fucking unaliver. He used to defend the mob. Well, this is just like the mob, so he's got the perfect fucking job. Sickening.
I should ask the question
Could you
about the
repeat?
dates again, please.
I'm seeking the chronology of events. A fight occurs, a complaint against you occurs, and then police reports are filed against the two people that are complaining against you. Is that the chronology?
Yes.
Which is crazy. They come in to try to file a police report. Nobody would let them file a police report until you could. Right. And then you start talking to them and charge them with witness intimidation, which is kind of weird because they're trying to fucking get a blogger that's covering this case for witness intimidation for all these stupid and suspicious fucking goddamn witnesses.
And you're also aware that although he had been in a physical fight that night, no charges were ever brought against Chris Albert, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Do you know that?
I don't know. I don't even know where the fight occurred.
Fuck up.
Officer Lang, what we just talked about,
Hey, room shaker.
is that an example of you using your position as a police officer to come to the aid of one of the members of the Albert family?
Yep.
It was me coming to the aid of a citizen who was terrified and scared for him and his family.
Oh, shut the
On that
fuck
night.
up.
Who happened to be
Yeah, they're also terrified.
Excuse me, who happened to be Chris Albert.
Get the fuck out of here, dude.
You mentioned Kevin Albert. Who's he?
Kevin Albert is a detective with the Canton Police.
Is he a coworker?
Yes.
How long have you known him?
Huh. Oh, yeah.
Probably
that's
since
another
14,
part.
15 years old.
And
So the brother of the oldest brother of the cop that they found on his lawn is they have another brother named Kevin Albert, who is also part of fucking the Albert clan. Then you have his friend, this dude right here, this sergeant's fucking friend, Chris Albert, who is a board selectman for the fucking town of Canton that fucking pays these fucks. Then you have Tim Albert, which is the youngest one. And Brian and the homeowner, I think this motherfucker was doing him a solid since he busted his brother in fucking 2012 for driving drunk and fucking doing a hit and run. Sickening.
You also consider him to be a friend as well as a coworker.
I do.
And a colleague.
Yes.
And you're also well aware.
I was through with this case at least blowers of fucking solo.
Correct.
Telling you what.
And you're also aware that the reason that your department was ultimately recused from this investigation, Lieutenant Lank, is because of a perceived bias or conflict.
Yeah, so why were you miraculously keep going back to talk to them and fucking and miraculously finding tail light pieces and going with them to find tail light pieces, having a fucking so-called the murder weapon in your fucking goddamn garage, aka Sallyport, whatever the fuck, and you make sure that you took it there so you guys could doctor the fucking video. We all know. Because you could see fucking clear fucking as day in the fucking dispatch. They didn't have no problem with the fucking cameras then that morning. It's all coming out.
Of interest between the Albert family.
I mean, you got to pay close attention because they sneak in their little fucking bullshit. They tell on themselves every now and then. You know, you got to be an observant motherfucker if you're on the fucking goddamn jury. No wonder. I mean, and stop trying to solve these cases, jury. Know what reasonable doubt is. It means that at the end of the case and all the evidence is displayed, if you have any doubt in your fucking mind that this person did the job, did the crime, then they get that benefit of your doubt. They get that. They get a not guilty.
Family and the Canton Police Department, correct?
Yes, there was a perceived bias.
Can you tell me one more time? And now I want to fast forward to.
There was a perceived
the
bias.
incident
No, there
in
was a
question.
bias.
What was the exact time that you arrived at the location, if you know?
I believe it was around 6:24, 6:25.
Okay. And you indicated that that was in response to a call that you got from Sergeant Good.
Yes, that's correct.
What made you decide, or could you have decided to take this particular call? Was it up to you, in other words?
I would never not take that call.
Okay, fair enough. So once you got the call, you knew that you were going to respond because there was something very serious afoot.
Correct.
Did you know at the time you got the call that that very serious incident was occurring at 34 Fairview?
No.
When did you realize that?
Upon speaking with Sergeant Good.
Okay, so Sergeant Good didn't, I guess that's what maybe I asked an inartful question. I was asking whether or not Sergeant Good told you before you actually arrived, he sort of had to have, that it's at 34 Fairview.
He did.
Okay. At that point, did a light bulb go off and you think to yourself, ding, that's the Albert House?
I don't recall if I realized it then
you
or
don't
once I turned
recall.
onto the street. I don't recall.
At some point before your car came to a stop, you knew this is 34 Fairview, this is the Albert household.
I knew that was Brian Albert's house, yes.
When you arrived, who was the ranking officer at the scene? You mentioned, obviously, we've heard these names, Sergeant Good, Officer Mulaney, Officer Seraph, you. Who was the ranking officer?
When I arrived, Sergeant Good was the ranking officer.
Ranking officer.
Have you reviewed either, well, let me ask you a different question. Did you have a dash cam in the vehicle that you arrived in?
I did not.
And that's because it was that a detective vehicle?
Yes.
Sometimes used undercover, et cetera?
Yes.
It's not a fully marked cruiser.
No, not at all.
The other cruisers you're aware did have dash cams, correct?
Yes.
Have you reviewed any or all of those dash cams from Officer Mulaney, Officer Seraph, Sergeant Good?
Yes.
And you reviewed those in preparation for your testimony?
Yes.
I'd like to show you what's been previously marked as Exhibit 16. And I'm going to ask Mr. Bates if you could fast forward that to about the runtime of about 28.1 35 or so, with the court's permission.
Yes.
Before we play this, it appears to be a still image of,
So let's not describe it.
sure. What do you see on the screen?
I see two still images.
Okay. Do you recognize either or both of those images?
Yes.
How do you recognize them?
It looks like the scene from that morning from, I believe it's going to be the top one anyways, that 683 Officer Seraph's cruiser.
And the bottom one?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Looks like possibly Sergeant Good's.
If we could fast forward to the 28:40 mark or so, Mr. Bates, and play that. And let's pause it for a second. Your Honor, may we approach briefly?
Okay.
Man, hurry up. I hate all these damn sidebars.
You indicated that you have reviewed these videos in anticipation of your testimony today, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to direct your attention to the top video, and specifically to an area right around this area in the video, which is highlighted. Before we play, a couple of foundational questions. Did you meet with Jennifer McCabe out behind the vehicle that's depicted in the Officer Seraph dash cam?
Yes,
Did you have some sort of a conversation with her?
I did.
At some point, did you see Ms. McCabe leave your presence and walk toward the driveway?
Once the conversation had terminated, I honestly don't recall where she went.
Did she tell you that she intended to go inside the house?
I had said to her that at some point we're going to need to speak to Brian and Nicole
Why did you think it was important to speak to Brian and Nicole?
because it's their property.
And somebody was laying in the snow, unconscious and unresponsive, correct?
Correct.
And obviously that could potentially, at least, implicate people inside the house.
Based on my conversation with Ms. McCabe, she had stated that the intention was for Mr. McCabe, for Mr. O'Keefe to join them at that house. So I wanted to get statements from everybody who was there.
Find out what happened, correct?
Correct.
I mean, that's sort of the obvious initial point of an investigation. Find out who the witnesses are and interview all of them, correct?
Correct.
And you began by talking to Ms. McCabe,
Yes.
knowing that she was a potential witness at least, correct?
She identified herself as a friend of Mr. O'Keefe.
Who had been with Mr. O'Keefe just hours before.
Yes.
He ended up laying in the snow fighting for his life, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you also knew that there were other witnesses potentially inside the house because she just told you that, right?
I knew that that was ultimately where he was supposed to end up.
So if there were other witnesses in the house, if there were other individuals in the house, they also were potential witnesses.
Potentially.
And Ms. McCabe indicated, I'm going to go in the house, correct?
I had told her that she's going to have to wake her sister up because we're going to need to speak with them.
You didn't think it was more important to separate the witnesses and not let her talk to other witnesses?
No.
You thought that it was appropriate to let all the witnesses get together and just discuss the facts before you have an opportunity to interview them separately?
Objection.
It is to the form.
You're supposed to separate them.
I'm just letting the siren go on.
That's fine.
Lieutenant Lank, if you could direct your attention to the area that I highlighted earlier. Let's go ahead and play the video. Stop. Did you see anything occur at or around the car in the distance?
It appears to be somebody walking towards the house.
Was that Jen McCabe?
I can't say for sure.
Do you see yourself, by the way, in this video?
Yes.
Where are you?
Right here.
Okay. You described so that I don't know if it's tan or gray.
It's a gray North Face jacket with black on the top.
Okay. Toward the shoulders.
Yes.
All right. Let's go ahead and play the video, and I'll indicate another stopping place that I'd like to ask you a couple of questions about. Apologies. No, go. No, sorry. I'm standing in front of you.
Oh, how long are they gonna? There's Carrie.
Did you see another person shorter in stature approach you?
Carrie Robert.
I believe right there. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Who is that?
Carrie
I
Robert.
believe it's Kerry Roberts.
Okay. Let's go play it. Pause it.
What are you gonna ask, Jackson?
Did you see yourself just exit screen right?
Yes.
It appeared that you had something in your hand.
Yes.
You're taking a call
Yes.
on your cell phone.
Yes.
What was that call?
I don't recall. It could have, I can't see what time that is. I don't believe that I made the call to the CPAC unit until around 6:38, so I'm not sure who that call was from.
If you'll direct your attention, I think now down toward the
Oh,
Camera
you
below.
making calls
Yes.
there, officer,
you
huh?
may see yourself enter the frame. Can we go ahead and play it? Go ahead and pause it. Does it appear you're on the phone?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Who you on the phone with, sir? You don't remember? You don't recall? Did you erase
Did it
that
appear
phone
that you
call
walked
like
off
Jen
screen
McCabe
left?
does?
Yes.
Still on the phone?
Yes.
Go ahead. Pause it. Did you see somebody following that same direction?
It looked like Officer Seraph.
Go ahead and play it.
Actually, I'm wrong because that's Officer Seraph right there, so I'm incorrect.
You think it might have been Sergeant Good?
Could we play it back?
With the court's permission.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, there he goes off talking on the phone. And there goes that other dude.
Pause. You recognize that person?
Yes, I'm mistaken. That's Sergeant Good.
Okay, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Pause it. Does it appear that you've walked back into the frame?
Yes.
Are you followed by anybody?
I believe it's still Sergeant Good.
Are you speaking to Sergeant Good or are you walking away from him? Or can you tell?
In that frame, it appears I'm standing right next to him.
Okay, let's go ahead and play it.
Still on the phone, though.
Pause it. Did it appear you were sort of walking away from Sergeant Good off frame again?
Yes, it appears that I'm pacing.
Were you still on the phone?
Yes.
Go ahead.
That's a long phone call, sir. Why were you on the phone that long? They say it was whiteout
Directing your
conditions. It
attention
ain't
to
no
the top
fucking
video.
whiteout
Do you
conditions.
see the SUV in the video?
Didn't start
Yes.
heavily
Is that SUV
snowing
appear to
until
be
later
leaving the
that
scene?
day.
Yes.
Do you know who's in that video? In that SUV?
I believe it's going to be Kerry Roberts and Karen Reed.
Okay, go ahead and play it. Pause it. At that point, are you walking back into the frame on the lower video?
Yes.
At this point, Lieutenant, are the lights on at 34 Fairview on or off?
They still appear to be off.
And at some point, while you're
They
at the scene,
never
did the
asked
lights
them
come
for
on? I
them.
think you testified to that earlier.
Yes.
I'd like you to pay special attention to that moment and maybe tell me to stop when you see those lights come on. It may be a minute or so.
Sure.
At this point, does it appear that you're still on the phone?
Yes.
That's a long ass phone call.
How's it? At this point, is there anything that changed in the scene?
Yes.
What's that?
It appears that there's now a light on inside the home.
And at this point, Ms. McCabe has been inside the house for approximately how long, if you could estimate?
Maybe 3 minutes.
And are you still on the phone? Or have you ended that call?
I can't tell if I'm still on the phone at that point. I know that right around this time is when I end up speaking to the CPAC
Imagine
unit,
that. As
because I
long as
believe I
he
get
was
into the
on the
vehicle.
Let's
phone,
play just a little bit.
it took her
for
that
maybe
long
30
for the
seconds or
lights
so.
to come on. Mhm. He was on the phone with her.
So, does it appear at this point, if you can see, does it appear that you've ended that call, or at least your hands are down by your side?
I can't tell.
Okay. You would agree with me, that's all I have for that.
It's awfully strange that the lights come on as you get off the phone.
You would agree with me that that was,
Sir.
without counting the seconds, that was about a 5-minute phone call, or maybe a little better than 5 minutes.
I wasn't watching, to be honest.
Do you have any idea who you were talking to now that you've seen that?
I could
think
make an
that's-
educated guess, but I don't know for sure.
You did notice that several minutes after Jen McCabe went in the house, and while you were on that phone call, the lights finally came on at 34 Fairview, correct?
Correct.
At the point the lights came on,
You
the
were off
ladder
the
truck
phone.
had already gone, left from the scene, correct?
I
You
believe,
were off the
I
phone.
believe so.
The firefighters are all gone.
Yes.
The ambulance has already left and transported
Mhm.
Mr. O'Keefe.
Yes.
The paramedics are gone, the EMTs.
Mhm.
Yes.
Still
SUV,
snowing.
That's gone.
Don't forget, Jackson, it was still snowing.
Is that right?
I'm sorry. Was there a question?
The fire captain and his SUV, that's gone.
I'm not sure.
In other words, all the fire and EMTs.
I don't see them on camera.
Doesn't appear that any fire or EMTs are still on scene, correct?
Doesn't appear so.
Carrie Roberts is gone.
Yes.
KARENREAD is gone.
Yes.
Mhm.
So when the only parties left at the scene are members of the Albert family, Jen McCabe, and the Canton Police Department representatives, that's when the lights inside 34 Fairview finally came on.
Mhm. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Let's go.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
And then minutes after that call, you did then speak to to dispatch, correct?
CPAC dispatch.
Right, I was getting to that. It was a dispatch, and the dispatch was to CPAC, not to Canton PD.
Correct.
And at some point, did CPAC dispatch indicate that they were on their way, they had declined the call? What was that call all about?
So there are two separate calls.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
I will.
Who
I'm
did you
going to
talk to
smoke.
at
I'll be in the
CPAC?
chat.
I don't recall who handled the first call at dispatch.
Okay, do you remember having a conversation with Kelly Dever?
No.
Um,
I think we're talking about two different things. I'm talking about CPAC dispatch, not Canton Police dispatch.
okay, fair enough. At some point, did you have a conversation with, well, let me ask it this way. I just don't know. Did you talk to both Canton dispatch and CPAC dispatch?
I definitely spoke to CPAC dispatch.
And okay.
I'm not sure if I spoke to Canton dispatch or not.
All right. At some point, did you say, did you indicate to one or the other, I'm responding to 34 Fairview, we have a Boston police officer who was just found?
I stated that I was already at 34 Fairview.
You indicated
I
that he
believe.
does have some trauma to his head area, correct?
That's correct.
And you said, quote, I'm not sure if he's been in a fight or whatever. Our medics don't believe he's going to make it,
Correct.
end quote. Sergeant Lang, you never saw John O'Keefe's body, correct?
Correct.
So somebody disclosed to you that it appeared that he had been in a, quote, fight or whatever, at least at that point. That was your thought.
No.
And what made you say, well, you didn't say to dispatch, the victim appears to have been shot, correct?
Correct.
You didn't say it appeared he'd been stabbed.
No.
He had been strangled.
No.
You didn't say it appeared he'd been hit by a car.
Correct.
You said it appeared that he'd been in a fight or whatever, correct?
I stated that he had some trauma to his head, and I said, I don't know if he has been in a fight. And then I believe I described it as a, I don't remember my exact terminology, but it was a crazy scene.
Chaotic scene.
Possibly. I don't recall my exact words, something to that effect.
But you do recall your exact words to dispatch being, I don't know if he's been in a fight or whatever.
Correct.
I want to talk about inside the house for just a few minutes, if I could. You've talked extensively about the crime scene outside, and we'll get to that in a second, but I want to talk about what did or did not happen inside the house. Did you actually make it inside the house at some point?
Yes.
Okay. When was that? How long? Let's use Jennifer McCabe as the time frame. How long after that did you finally go inside the house, after she'd been in the house?
So it was specifically just after I got off the phone with CPAC.
So just a few minutes after we ended that video.
Yes.
And you walked you said either along the driveway or through the yard.
I believe it was up the driveway.
Okay. Once you went in the house, you made contact with the individuals in the house, correct?
Yes.
And you believed, at least at that point, that there was a potential, that there was a, let me rephrase that. You knew that you were dealing with a violent incident, correct?
No,
You thought maybe it was just a heart attack?
I didn't know what it was. At that point in time, I didn't know what it was. Could have been a multitude of things.
But what was going through your mind at that point was it could have been a fight or whatever, because he had trauma to his head. Those were your words.
Those were my words, yes.
Okay. So you didn't think it was like some old man who died of old age, right?
Based on his age, no, I wouldn't have suspected that.
You didn't think it was an accidental drowning or something?
Again, it could have been a multitude of things to cause those injuries. So at that point in time, we had no idea what we were looking at.
But you were aware that it had something to do with a violent incident. He had trauma to his face and he's unconscious, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Did you believe that there were any indicators that Mr. O'Keefe had been involved in some sort of a physical altercation?
Possibly.
Okay. And that's because you used the phrase, he had trauma to his face and head, right?
That's what I had been told, yes.
So based on what you had been told, you knew that there was a person laying out unconscious just outside a residence that may have been involved in a physical altercation. That's fair.
It's a possibility, yes. But again, there were a multitude of things that were going through my head as possibilities.
But that's one of the premier possibilities, right?
I wouldn't say it's premier. It was one of the possibilities.
And it's logical to believe that if a fight had occurred, very well may have started inside the residence 30 feet away.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Did you believe in your mind that it was possible, given the fact that a violent confrontation was possible in your mind, that it could have started inside the house?
Objection.
Sustained.
May we approach?
Yes.
Ma'am?
Sure.
Lieutenant Lang, given what you believed at the time and the possibility that there was a fight or whatever, did you logically think in your mind, your state of mind was it possibly could have started in the house,
If it had been a confrontation, it could have started anywhere.
right? The house is part of anywhere, right?
Correct.
So in other words, the house is not excluded in your mind at that point as a starting point for the investigation. Is that right?
Well, the starting point would have been where Mr. O'Keefe had been discovered. And then based on speaking with the witnesses, there was no indication that he had ever made it into the house.
Well, you didn't know that until you followed up on your investigation, correct?
I learned that by speaking to Ms. McCabe.
So you just took Ms. McCabe's word for it.
At that point in time, that was the only person I had spoken to. And she gave me a timeline of events from that night where Mr. O'Keefe was supposed to come back to the house, but never made it.
Have you ever been, in your course of investigating cases, have you ever been lied to by a witness?
Objection, Your Honor.
Can you answer that? Have you ever been lied to by a witness?
Yes.
So it's not necessarily the best investigative technique to just take a witness's word for something, correct?
Objection.
That's sustained.
You need to actually investigate the circumstances for yourself and to your own satisfaction. Is that a fair statement?
Sure.
One of those investigative techniques would be to walk into the house and figure out who's who there, correct?
Can you rephrase the question?
Sure. One of those investigative techniques to satisfy yourself that you're actually getting to the truth of the matter would be to walk into the house and figure out who's in the house first.
I will agree that I needed to speak to the people in the home. I can't just walk in their house. I have to announce myself and they don't have to let me in.
I understand. I'm not trying to parse those words. I just mean entering the home and interviewing witnesses. That would be a normal part of your investigation initially, correct?
Yes.
And you also knew that the most obvious place to look for witnesses that may have information about a fallen man in the snow would be 30 feet away in the home, correct?
Correct.
So once you're inside the residence, you walked in the front door, correct?
Yes.
You indicated that there's a stair that services the second floor. Is that right?
Straight ahead. Yes.
Right. Just before the staircase, there's a door to your left, right?
I don't recall.
Do you remember whether or not there's a door that when you open it, goes directly downstairs to the basement?
I don't recall.
You indicated on direct examination that you didn't notice anything. I'm paraphrasing, so forgive me. You didn't notice anything out of place in the home.
No.
But you didn't go downstairs to the basement and look, did you?
No.
Didn't look for broken furniture down there.
I didn't enter the basement at all.
You didn't look for torn clothing down there.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
How about anywhere in the house? Did you look for broken furniture or torn clothing or blood evidence or DNA evidence?
At that point in time, I never made it past the front foyer area.
So the answer to my question is no, you did not.
I never made it past the front foyer area.
So if I were to ask you one more time, I know you never made it past the foyer. Did you ever investigate the foyer area or any other part of the house for evidence of a fight?
The only area I was able to observe at that point, everything appeared to be in order.
But you didn't search the rest of the house for a fight. Lieutenant, that's all I'm asking.
No, I wouldn't have had probable cause to do so.
And did you seek guidance from a court as to whether or not you might have probable cause?
Do you mean a search warrant?
That's what I mean.
I wouldn't fill out an affidavit for a search warrant because it wouldn't have probable cause.
In your mind, there was no PC to search that house, right?
Objection.
Let's move on from this.
One of the ways to secure a premises, any premises in a normal crime scene investigation, would be to remove the witnesses and animals from that premises to sort of freeze it and lock it down, correct?
If there was reason to do so, yes.
Okay. Were the witnesses in this case asked to come outside the house in order to freeze the house down as a potential crime scene?
No.
Were any animals removed in order to freeze and lock down the house as a potential crime scene?
I didn't observe any animals.
Did you, and this is the last question on this issue, did you do anything to lock down and secure that premises, the inside of the house, in any way, shape, form, or fashion?
Can you rephrase that, please?
Sure. Did you do anything to lock down and secure that premises in any way, shape, form, or fashion?
No.
Did you allow witnesses to go inside the house other than Jim McCabe?
Yes.
Who was that?
I believe Matt McCabe entered the house after I had come out.
And did you seek to separate any of the witnesses or admonish them that they are not to be in each other's presence and discuss the facts of the case before you had an opportunity to interview them?
No.
And as you sit here, you have no idea, when you were not in their presence, you have no idea what the occupants of that house were discussing
Correct.
or what they were doing.
I have no idea what they were doing.
Just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Given the fact that you were the first law enforcement officer inside the house, did you seek to photograph anything inside the house?
When you say I was the first law enforcement officer, I was with Sergeant Good. Both of us walked in at the same time.
That's fair. I don't mean to be vague, but you were sort of leading the discussion, correct, with the interviews?
Yes.
At least according to Sergeant Good, you were taking charge.
Sure.
As the first law enforcement officer to take charge inside the house, did you seek to photograph that?
No.
Analysis of that location?
No, I did not.
Did you make any drawings or diagrams of the layout of the house?
No, I did not.
Did you note where the furniture was or was not?
I don't know what you mean.
Did you note in a diagram where furniture was? There's a dining room table here. It's got 6 chairs. There's a kitchen table over there.
No, I did not.
Did you note in any document where the individuals were, the human beings were in relation to each other when you walked in the house?
Are you asking me where I were, or did I make a
I'm asking you
diagram?
whether or not you documented that.
No.
Had you been told at the time that you went in the house that John O'Keefe was found out in the yard, that there was a shoe missing, his right shoe was missing?
No.
You didn't have that information yet?
I did not.
Did you subsequently learn that?
I learned that much later after we had already cleared the area.
Tell me what much later means. Days, hours, weeks?
I honestly couldn't give an exact answer on that.
I think I know the answer to this, but you didn't do any search for any missing clothing from the victim inside the house?
I did not.
Last question on this, or last series of questions on this issue. You understand the importance of electronic devices in modern investigation, correct?
Yes.
iPads, cell phones, things of that nature.
Sure.
Because they can record things like photographs, videos, conversations, text messages, and emails.
Yes.
Would you consider electronic devices relatively vital in modern law enforcement investigations?
Yes.
I'm sorry, violent?
Vital.
Yes. Yes,
Right? They're critical items of evidence, right? It's like walking around with your entire life in your palm of your hand, correct?
correct.
Did you seek to
Yeah, he's not hearing words right and everything.
secure any electronic devices of
Nope.
any of the occupants of that house?
Nope.
No.
Did you ask for consent to look through their electronic devices, for instance, their cell phones, for text messages, communications?
No.
You didn't do any investigating except for Freeman
Did you
and girl,
believe,
Freeman and the girlfriend.
Well, turning back to a question that you were asked by Mr. Lally, you did in fact interview Brian Albert at the scene, correct?
Yes.
You also interviewed his wife.
Yes.
Did you believe at any point before you interviewed Mr. Albert that it was incumbent upon you to let your supervisors know that there may be a conflict of interest because of a personal relationship that you had with the family?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you ever, in fact, not whether you believed it was a,
I think that's
but did
vital.
you ever, in fact, notify any of your superiors at Canton PD or any other law
No.
enforcement agency that you had a personal
Like Canton
relationship
PD is
with
gonna
the Albert
care.
family or members of the Albert family?
They're all ran by the mob. Mob
I do not.
Albert.
You indicated that you believe you spoke to Mr. Albert and his wife, Nicole Albert, for maybe 15 to 20 minutes. Is that what you said?
Roughly.
Did you record that conversation?
I did not.
You had your cell phone with you, correct?
Yes.
You know that has recording capability?
Yes.
Was anybody else with Nicole? When I say with, I mean in earshot of Nicole and Brian Albert when you interviewed either one of them or both of them?
Jennifer McCabe.
So
Of
you
course
interviewed
he
them
was.
together.
Yes.
Did you then interview Jennifer McCabe?
I had spoken to Jennifer McCabe outside. To the best of my memory, I believe once we were inside, I was able to get some more information from her based on the chronological order of events.
And when you were getting this information about the
Hey,
chronological
he never
order
went
of
in the
events, that
house.
was within earshot of Brian Albert and Nicole Albert.
Yes.
So when you interviewed Brian Albert, Nicole and Jennifer McCabe were listening, correct?
Yes.
When you interviewed Nicole Albert, Brian Albert and Jennifer McCabe were listening.
Yes.
And when you got this chronological layout of the night before from Jennifer McCabe, Brian and Nicole were both listening.
Yes.
After you met with the three of them and interviewed them, you indicated that you came back. You had already left, you came back. And I'm jumping ahead a little bit, so forgive me. When you came back, it was around 9 a.m.?
No. I came back just moments later.
Had you actually left? I may be a bit confused, so I apologize. Had you actually left and driven back to Canton PD?
No.
Okay, so you just came back in the house?
When Mr. McCabe entered the house,
No, I'm so sorry. I'm jumping ahead, so that's unfair. You left, now we're at the point where you've already cleared the crime scene.
Okay.
And then at some point you get called back.
Yes.
Because Ms. McCabe said she had additional information she wanted to impart.
Yes.
When you interviewed Ms. McCabe that second time, were Brian and Nicole Albert there?
Yes.
Were they within earshot?
Yes.
And they listened to that conversation as well.
Yes.
Dirty. But McCabe would
After
say
that
they were at her
conversation,
house.
Did you meet with any other witnesses between February 29th, later in the day, January 29th, any time until February 4th?
No.
None.
I doubt that.
I do want to talk for a second, just a brief second, about setting up a crime scene outdoors. You indicated that the crime scene was relatively secure, was your word. It was relatively secure because there were patrol cars or cruisers.
It wasn't
sort of
secure at
around the
all.
perimeter
Yes.
of the yard. Is that right?
That's correct.
Crime scene tape wasn't working because it was windy.
Crime scene tape was up, but it was being blown all over the place.
Okay. And of course,
Well, that's
Canton PD
because
has
you
the
didn't
ability to
secure
go get stakes and just hammer some stakes into the dirt if you wish to.
No.
You don't have stakes at Canton PD.
No, we-
eat stakes. STAKES.
I know what a stake is. No, we don't have any.
Canton PD doesn't have those.
Wow.
No.
You don't have
So
shit.
crime scene tape was
You
blown
don't
down.
got fucking
That was just sort of
suction
a
cups.
give
You
up on
ain't
it.
got shit.
Wouldn't do any good.
No.
In your mind, it was futile.
The crime scene tape was futile. Yes. It was left up until we made the determination to take it down, but it wasn't really doing its job.
All right. And once the scene was cleared, all those cruisers that were protecting that crime scene
We're gone.
were now gone.
Yes.
And all the cruisers were gone by about 7:50 in the morning, 7:50, 7:55.
Yes.
So before 8 a.m., that crime scene was completely open. I'm sorry, after 8 a.m., that crime scene was completely open.
Yes.
Unsecured.
Yes.
And available to anybody who wanted access to it.
Correct.
One of the reasons to secure a crime scene is to minimize the possibility of evidence destruction on one hand, correct?
Yes.
And evidence tampering on the other hand. right?
Sure.
And examples of evidence tampering could be just moving a piece of evidence.
Objection, Your Honor.
That's overruled. Just not too much further with this, though.
I've just got a couple of quick questions about this.
Could you repeat that, please?
Sure. An example or a couple of
You know,
examples
you
of
need to
evidence
stop
tampering could be something as
asking
simple
or
as moving a piece
telling
of
them.
evidence,
Hold on.
moving it from here to here, correct?
This fucking judge.
That would be tampering.
This judge pisses me the fuck off. When they're trying to show the Bowden defense where there's been some botched investigation going on, that there was some quirky things with the investigation, she shouldn't stop him and say enough of this. No. They should be allowed to ask as many fucking questions as they want, as long as they're not repeating their fucking self.
Yes.
Hiding evidence, getting rid of it, right?
Yes.
Taking evidence out of the scene or putting evidence back into the scene, correct?
Yes.
Or even planting evidence that didn't exist before. All of those would be examples.
She is the only judge that I know that makes them stop asking questions. It pisses me the fuck off.
Tampering with evidence.
Yes.
And setting up a proper crime scene minimizes or eliminates the possibility for that.
Setting up a crime scene would. Could you say that again, please?
Sure. Setting up a proper crime scene, securing a proper crime scene minimizes or tries to eliminate the possibility of that type of evidence tampering.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
It would, but at this point in time, we weren't aware. At this point in time, state police had said they weren't responding, so there was no longer an area to preserve at that point.
So in your mind,
if they're not responding, you preserve it until they fucking get there. What the fuck?
let me phrase it a different way. What that means is that scene was just open.
It was.
You didn't bother searching it.
both the
You
blood
took
that we
the
saw
leaf blower to
pictures
blow
of
shit all
and the
over
cocktail
the
glass that we
place.
were just introduced to.
Right in the glass,
Yes.
and then you say,
You
"Oh, I'm
searched
done."
the area that was adjacent to where you believed the body was. Is that right?
We searched, I would say, about a 6x6 or 7x7 area,
6x6 or 7x7.
roughly. 6 feet on each side.
Right. You were looking for obviously anything that was out of place, anything that didn't
And you
belong.
didn't find any taillight pieces
Yes.
that day.
Okay.
Imagine that.
Man size 12 shoe would have
Nope.
caught your attention.
It would.
Nope.
A black baseball cap would have caught your attention.
Nope.
It would.
They didn't find it.
Piece of plastic broken probably would have caught your attention.
And the funny fucking part is they didn't find that stuff in 3 to 5 inches of fucking snow, but they want to say it was a fucking blizzard. It didn't start blizzarding until fucking later that day. And when it dumped fucking foot and a half of snow after they confiscated her motherfucking vehicle and decided to do whatever the fuck they were doing and sprinkle taillight pieces so they could fucking miraculously find it in that fucking foot and a half of snow. And what's funny is they find a fucking piece and a fucking shoe right next to the fucking shoveled out berm that they called it, but didn't find the shoe that fucking morning. This shit is fucking absolute trash. Y'all should lose your fucking badges. Every last one of you.
Attention.
Yes.
Certainly 45 pieces of plastic would have caught your attention.
Yes.
And between you and Officer Seraph, Sergeant Good, Officer Mullaney, Lieutenant Gallagher, none of that was found.
No, the only things we found were the things that were documented.
You did find the blood, however. Is that right?
Yes.
Who literally
Imagine
physically
that.
leaned down
You find 6
and
droplets,
scooped that blood up?
Me.
6 little droplets of fucking blood, but you don't find a fucking 12 and a half men's shoe or a fucking baseball cap, or even because, you know, this is or the big ass fucking taillight piece that you found next to the area miraculously 6 fucking days later. Or when they found all the stuff a foot and a half later that day. Get the fuck out of here. There was no way. It was all planted. Like, if people don't realize that, I don't know how the jury fucking mistrialed this. This is crazy.
And that was done in a plastic solo cup that we've heard a little bit about.
Yes. Yes.
But
You're
yeah,
aware that those solo cups are unsealed,
I'm glad I don't live
I
there.
believe Lieutenant
For
Gallagher
real.
got them out of a sealed package.
Hey,
When I
quit
say
screaming.
unsealed, I mean they don't have a lid on them. They're not airtight containers.
I'm
Correct.
glad
So
I
once you
don't live
scoop
there.
up the snow and the
Because
dirt and the
these
debris
puppies
and the
are
grass
fucking
and everything
trash.
else, along with the blood, they're just open to the air.
Yeah, there was snow and blood. There was no dirt and debris in the glass that I can recall.
You're sure about that? There's no dirt and snow?
I didn't observe any. No,
You didn't observe any dirt and snow? You don't think there's dirt and snow?
I didn't observe any dirt in the glass.
I didn't observe any dirt in the glass. Oh, wow. Did you like stumble on something? You know, I mean, did you like stick your foot in your mouth or what? Okay, you didn't find any dirt in the snow. Do you not know that snow has fucking pollution in the motherfucker, that it carries little dirt particles in it? Do you not know that? Weirdo.
Excuse me, the cup.
Certainly wasn't a sterile cup.
No.
Certainly wasn't a crime scene cup.
So the fuck wasn't. That's not what we collect evidence in, George. You would have been better off getting the little swab containers, you know, and fucking putting it in that. And then, you know, you cut the swab off and extract DNA that way, you dummy. You know, that way isn't improvising. You know, for fuck's sakes, dude. Absolutely mind-boggling. But no, you didn't want to send anybody back to the fucking Canton Police Department to fucking get that shit. Well, why don't you guys have evidence collecting fucking what do you call it? Evidence collecting kits in your fucking cars? Somebody had a tent. They didn't put that up. No, let's go get a leaf blower and fucking goddamn red Solo cups. Yeah.
You're aware that the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab against collecting any biological material in anything made of plastic, correct? Are you aware of that?
No.
When you scooped up the blood, did you videotape that process so we know exactly which blood stain was scooped up from where?
Nope.
I don't recall if it was videotaped, but we did not document which scoop went in which cup.
Okay.
Of course not.
So if there was multiple
'Cause you
contributors
didn't
to
do
blood,
shit.
multiple contributors of the blood, we'd sort of have no idea.
Just like, okay, you would have DNA evidence in this case because there was 2 other contributors on his clothes, blood, and the only people they fucking chose to test was the 2 lead investigators from the Massachusetts State Police and not anybody that was in that fucking house the night before. Absolutely trash. Crappy investigation. Crappy.
Blood drop belonged to whom, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
How is that
Once
sustained?
these unsealed cups were in your possession, what did you do with them?
The cups were placed into the Toyota Tundra that I was driving that day and ultimately returned back to the police station.
Okay, and you talked a little bit about the process.
Okay, wait. Where in your Toyota Tundra, was it on the inside of the Toyota Tundra or the outside of the Toyota Tundra? I mean, because you guys don't even fucking care about goddamn evidence, let's be honest.
Once you return back to the station, they were put in a brown evidence bag, correct?
Yes.
And ultimately, when you log these items into tell me the name of it again, it's temporary evidence?
And another thing, why the fuck none of you have body cam? Why the fuck does the Canton Police Department not have body cam? This is absolutely trash. Massachusetts State Police don't have fucking body cam. I mean, you know.
Temporary, excuse me, the blood was put in temporary evidence refrigerator.
Okay, inside the evidence bag.
Bullshit.
Uh,
Oh, it
It's still
was.
inside the evidence bag. And it's
I don't
logged.
even think it made it to the fucking refrigerator.
I don't recall that. I'm not sure if I took them out or not. I don't recall.
You indicated that there's an item number or property number that's assigned to them.
Yes.
There's generated a seal or label to go on the evidence that's
Where
being
was it
stored.
logged
correct?
at,
That's
sir?
right, yes.
And the bag is sealed. The evidence bag is sealed like this red tape that we see on this thing, correct?
When possible, there are certain items that can't be bagged, and then sometimes you create a tag and attach it to a tag.
Right, but if it's a brown paper bag that's an evidence bag, you certainly just fold over the edge of it and just put a red evidence seal on it to make sure that that's secure and not tampered with, correct?
That would be one way to do it, yes. I don't recall if I left them in the bag or took them out of the bag. I don't recall.
If you left them in the bag, you likely would have, if you're booking them into evidence, you likely would have used some red crime scene,
Yeah.
not crime scene tape, evidence tape.
If I had left them in the bag, I would have put the
sir.
property label right on the bag.
So everybody could see it.
Yes.
Okay, there's an evidence bag with important evidence in it. Don't mess with it.
A
It's secure,
shopping,
correct? We have tab 23.
shop and save fucking bag or a save and shop or whatever the fuck it's
You
called.
recognize what's depicted in this exhibit?
It's a grocery bag. It ain't even a fucking
I believe
evidence
it's,
bag,
I believe it's
motherfucker.
Miss Reed's vehicle.
After they
For the record, you're looking at
go on.
what's been previously marked as exhibit 37. You see the little white rag down there by the right rear quarter panel?
Yes.
Let's go to tab 24.
Here we go. There's
see
a
that white
stop
rag?
and shave bag,
Yes.
Sorry?
Yes,
Okay.
stop and shop,
See
or
it.
whatever the fuck it's
Bag
called.
sitting next to it.
I do.
Doesn't look like an evidence bag, does it?
No, it looks like a Stop and Shop bag.
Stop and
But
Shop.
actually, it looks like an evidence bag. It just doesn't say Canton Police on it. It says Stop and Shop, but it does look like an
not
evidence
an
bag. It's the same thing.
Bag, fuck face.
That's a grocery bag.
It is. And that's exactly what our evidence bags look like. So that's what I thought it was at first.
Right, except it doesn't say anything about evidence on it. It says stop and shop, correct?
Correct.
What do you think's in that evidence bag? I'm sorry, stop and shop bag.
I'm not sure.
You were when these pictures were taken?
I could tell that it's the Canton Police Sally Port. So it's some point after the state police had seized the vehicle.
And at some point after you
Which
had
was
brought
on the 29th.
solo cups back to the station.
Correct.
Matter of fact, these were taken on February 1st when the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab finally took possession of these items of evidence, correct?
I was not in the police station for those 2 days.
Let's look at the next tab, tab 25. You recognize that?
It appears to be solo cups with substance inside.
Are those just any solo cups or the solo cups that you took back to the station from 34th Fairview?
I mean, I couldn't say definitively, but it certainly looks like it.
It appears that they have red liquid material floating in the bottom.
Yes.
That appear to be blood.
The top three I can see. Yeah. The only two I see that don't have it are the bottom two left.
Okay, let's look at the next tab, which is 26.
So
And
how
you see
many?
somebody with gloved hands opening that bag, same bag, little white rag right there.
I do.
That appear to be the same 6 solo cups?
That you just showed me in the previous slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Are those the same 6 solo cups that you gathered at the scene at 34 Fairview and ultimately brought back to Canton PD?
They certainly appear like they are, but I can't say definitively, but they appear to be.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to start on your words. Go ahead. You sure?
They appear to be the same solo cups.
Red
But I couldn't say
solo cups got
definitively.
a whole
Let's
new
go back to
meaning.
tab
Now they're bloody evidence collecting fucking
And the
device.
reason you can't say definitively, Lieutenant, is because there is no label on this bag, is there?
None.
Not on that side of it, no.
There is no property number on this bag, is
Nope.
there?
Not on the side that's visible to me, no.
There's no evidence tape on this bag, is there?
Nope.
Not on the side that's visible to me, no.
Well, let's look at the other photographs.
It can be tampered
Are you
with.
well, before we do that, are you suggesting that all of that material is on the other side of this bag?
I don't know. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm telling you I don't know.
Okay, let's look at the next tab. Looking at it from the top, does it appear anywhere from that vantage point that there's evidence tape that's ever been put on that bag,
Nope.
that has ever been secured?
Nope.
I wouldn't be able to tell you that.
Well, one of the ways that you can tell that evidence tape has been put on an item is because when the evidence tape is placed on it, it's completely sealed. And if in fact that seal is ever broken, it's not torn off, it's cut, and there's initials put on, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Have you ever used evidence tape before? To seal anything?
I think they still have a stop and
I'm sure I
shop
have. I don't
bag
recall off the top of my head.
Fucking,
How long have you been a detective?
in
I'm sorry, how long were you a detective when you were a
fucking,
detective?
I was a detective for
They
11
still
months
use
as a
they
sergeant, and then I
still
was a
use
detective
brown paper
for
bag,
15 months back in
brown,
2011, 12.
And in
bags
your
of
experience,
groceries
how long have you been a
that
police
they put
officer?
groceries in.
Over 24 years.
So in your 24 years of experience and over a year as a detective, you can't remember if you've ever used evidence sealing tape?
As I said, I'm sure I have. I just
It's
can't recall one off the top of my head.
environmentally friendly
When-
rather
if you-
than
when
the
you-
plastic one.
Recall using it at all, isn't the protocol that when evidence sealing tape is used to seal an item of evidence, when it's removed, it's not torn off, it's cut,
It's
and then new
cut,
ceiling
and
tape is put
initials
over
are
it
put
with
on
an
it.
initial
He's
and a
not
date,
lying.
correct?
Objection.
He's not lying.
Do you know the answer to that?
I don't.
Okay, next question.
Oh, wow. Yes,
Um,
you do.
That's all I have for this.
Yes, you do, dude. Yes, you do.
Okay, I'm going to see Consulate Sidebar for just a minute,
Oh,
please.
fuck. For fuck's sakes, lady. They're going to send out the fucking jury. I don't know why. I don't know who the fuck that was. That's probably the fucking whatever you call it. Bypassing the stupid ass sidebar. The sidebar.
Jim.
If looks could kill, all these motherfuckers would be dead, eh?
Oh, we're bringing them over? Yes, please.
Please, please.
Second session, you may be seated.
All right, Mr. Jackson, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. That's all I have at this time.
Okay. Mr. Lally?
He said that before. Why does he got to say that again?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just briefly, sir, with regard to
Oh, shut up with your briefly shit.
incident you were asked about from August of 2002. You explain in your own words what happened.
So I had left the establishment, Centerfields is what it was called at the time, and the owner had asked me if I could drive a patron home who had too much to drink, so I obliged. Walked across the street to the parking lot, got in my truck with the patron, and as I was pulling,
Wait, okay, hold on. But you were drinking too. Why would another cop ask you to drive another person home that's been drinking? This is crazy. Okay, cool.
out, that's when Mr. Albert approached my truck and told me how he had been in an altercation earlier in the evening with Mark Lapalato, and that Mark had made threats towards him and his family, that he was going to harm his family. They had a young child at the time. Mr. Albert was concerned and asking me what he should do. Excuse me. As I was telling him what I think he should do, he said something to the effect of, "Oh no, here they come." And I observed multiple men walking down the sidewalk in our direction. At this point, I got out of my truck, approached the group, and pleaded with them. I said,
See how you try to make the story bigger than what it was, fucking dickhead? Multiple people. You make it sound like there was a mob after you, but you guys are the mob. You and the Albert clan, everybody that helps them motherfuckers. You're all the fucking mob. Punks.
He's not tonight. He's by himself. He's with his wife, girlfriend. There's not going to be a fight tonight. And I did my best to diffuse the situation, but they weren't having it. They made several attempts to push past me.
Now, Kevin. No. He didn't drink. These motherfuckers love to drink their asses off and then drive. And then they want to blame other people for driving drunk and all that dumb shit. But he's trying. This is pretty funny.
Ultimately, a wrestling match.
he made attempts to push past me. No, I thought he struck you first, sir. That's what you told the other fucking lawyer. Now all of a sudden, see, fuck you, dude. You're incompetent.
Ensued. Mr. Lepalato at one point said, I know who you are. I don't give a fuck. And asked me what I was going to do about it. A wrestling match ensued. I was punched. And at that point, I defended myself and did engage in a physical altercation with Mark.
You were already in a wrestling match.
You were asking about sort of timing of reports. You didn't write a report until a couple days later. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Why was that?
You didn't write a report until fucking they tried to press charges on your motherfucking ass, you dickhead. Let's really talk about it. Then you charged them instead and tried to get them for witness fucking intimidation. Like you're trying to do a blogger right now, right? Yeah, because Chris is so bullied. But he loves to bully everybody. Fuck out of here.
Spoken to the shift supervisor that night, and I asked him if he wanted me to return and generate a report at that point.
I can't wait till they call Chris Albert on the fucking stand. I cannot fucking wait. He is such a piece of shit. He tries to, we were just joking around, having fun. No, motherfucker. You were sitting there taunting a motherfucker while he's on vacation with his girlfriend and his niece and nephew that he adopted, and you're on his fucking fence taunting him. You're a fucking fuck, Chris Albert. And friends like this, you don't need them. Like your ass should be under the jail.
And he advised me that I could do it the next time I was at work, which was a couple of days later.
And as far as the police responding to that parking lot that night, how were they notified?
I had yelled across the street when the group was trying to push its way past me. I yelled across the street to the bartender and the owner had made their way, excuse me, out onto the sidewalk street area. I yelled across the street and I said, call the police, and they ultimately called 911.
Now, what, if any, relevance or factor did any of that have
Well, no, they
in your
called
minds in
911.
regard to your response and interviews or anything that you did on January 29th, 2020?
Absolutely nothing.
And in fact, that involved Christopher Albert in 2002, correct?
Yes, it did.
And you were at Brian Albert's residence in 2022, correct?
Correct.
And just to be clear, just
20
because the
years
last name is
later,
Albert, they're
imagine
separate
that.
people, you have separate relationships with each of those persons, correct?
Correct.
Now,
Yeah, try to
you grew up in the
distance him
town,
from
work
it.
in the town,
Go
let's say you
ahead.
go to calls regarding people that you know,
Yes,
whether that be witnesses, people that you arrest, any of the like, correct?
correct.
Well, you don't know how to investigate.
Now, with
when
regard
you
to the
know
questions that you were asked about Mr. O'Keefe, just to be
Unless
clear,
it was
you
probably
never
your
laid
friend
eyes
laying on
on
the
Mr.
ground
O'Keefe's
and then you
body at any
probably
point in time on
investigated.
January 29th or thereafter, correct?
No, I didn't.
You were asked some questions about on the cruiser cam video, whether
And the
you're on
poor
the phone.
family believes
You
you.
indicated
fucks.
that you
This is
make
sad.
an educated guess as to who you're on the phone with. Who would that be?
Lieutenant Gallagher.
And so at the time that you're on the phone from that video, Lieutenant Gallagher was not on scene yet, correct?
Correct.
Oh, now you were on the phone with Lieutenant Gallagher, but before
Yeah,
you
with
said you didn't
respect,
know who you were
to-
talking to. Fuck out of here.
The weather on that day. You talked a bit about sort of the weather as you were on scene. During the time that you were on scene, did it essentially persist in the same manner?
Yes.
And then later on that day, what, if any, change occurred with regard to the weather?
As I recall, while we were there, it stayed the same. If anything, it might have gotten even worse.
And from your memory of that day, did that continue throughout the course of the day while you were working?
Yes.
Now, with regard to in the house at 34 Fairview Road, each of those occasions, if you could, with respect to the 3 occasions that you went inside the house to speak to people, where were those people within the house?
The first time I went in, Brian Albert and Nicole Albert were located, I believe, on the stairs or sitting possibly at some point on the stairs. Jen McCabe was to my right. The second time I went back in, excuse me, was also through the front door. And it was the same positioning, except this time Matt McCabe was present and Matt was also to my right.
And then on the third occasion, when yourself and Lieutenant Gallagher came back to speak to Ms. McKay further,
We went in through the door to the right. So it's to the right of the main door. We went in through that door and stayed in like the dining kitchen area. And that's where I spoke with Jennifer.
And that third time that you went back and you spoke with Jennifer, where was Brian?
Hey,
Alvin,
how do
Nicole
you know
Alvin,
it's the
Matthew
main
McCabe, and
door,
those
sir,
parties
if
that
you
were there?
don't know
Well,
about their house?
They were present. I actually don't recall if Matthew McCabe was there the third time. Brian and Nicole were definitely there. I believe they were in the general vicinity, but I couldn't tell you exactly where they were.
And same thing when you
Okay,
went
you
back
talked
on that
to her
third
3
occasion.
times?
What, if
Wow.
anything, did you note as far as the interior of the
How
house?
many
anything
reports
askew,
did you
anything,
write, sir?
Out of place.
No, everything looked to be in order.
What did Jen McCabe say when she
further.
said she had more
May
information?
we approach very briefly?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Mayor, Your Honor.
Yes.
Very briefly, Lieutenant Lank, you indicated that you claimed in your description that you were assaulted by the Lolita brothers, correct?
Yes,
Anything having to do with this case, the case that you're describing, is that true?
correct.
You also indicated that they made either a threatening comment to you or disparaging comment to you about, I don't give a fuck, correct?
Correct.
Is it true that what was actually said was you said to them, I don't know who you are, but I'm going to make your life miserable?
No.
All of this incident was in furtherance of you protecting a member of the Albert family when they asked for your help, correct?
No, it was me protecting someone who asked for my help who was clearly in fear.
Who happened to be an Albert.
Happened to be an Albert.
All right, you are all set. Thank you, Lieutenant. You're all set, sir. Let's try and get some testimony from one more witness.
Yes.
And jurors, we will break right at 1, but let's see if we can get more testimony, please. Who's your next witness?
Your Honor, the Commonwealth call Lieutenant Charles Ray.
Okay.
I don't remember this, dude. I don't know who the fuck he is. He's police department. Oh, he's the one that went to the house. That's right.
You saw this with the
To the
court during the case now.
wellness, whatever. For John O'Keefe's niece. We went to the cops with the big ass driveway, Kevin. Yeah, we went to that house.
Number of the exhibit, whatever it is. Good.
He looks like he just woke the fuck up.
41.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the jury?
Charles Ray, R-A-E.
And how are you employed, sir?
I work for the Canton Police Department.
And how long have you been a member of the Canton Police?
Approximately 25 years.
And what rank or assignment do you currently have with the Canton Police?
I'm a lieutenant.
And how long have you had the rank of lieutenant with the Canton Police?
I've been a lieutenant for about 9 years.
And what, if any, sort of specialized duties or assignments do you have within the Canton Police Department?
Day to day, I'll be a patrol shift commander. Some ancillary duties include overseeing the Family Services Unit, which includes juvenile services, school resource officers, sexual assault investigations, and special populations.
And if I could turn your attention to January 29th, 2022, were you working that day?
I came into work the day shift at about 7:30 a.m.
Okay, what is the day shift at the Canton Police?
7:45 a.m. to 3:45 p.m.
And when you arrived that day at the department, what if anything was sort of going on at the department that day when you arrived?
Well, there was a well forecasted snowstorm. It was in the early stages. So when I came in, there was a lot of, as there usually is, a shift change, a lot of comings and goings. People leaving the shift, people coming onto the shift.
Thank you. Thank you. The first
And it was
Hold
a
on.
busy.
the first fucking cop to say that it just fucking started. Thank you for being motherfucking honest, sir. Jesus.
Dispatch area at that time.
And at some point after you arrived at work, were you made aware of a call that your department had dispatched to shortly after 6 a.m. on that day?
Correct.
And just in general terms, what was it that you learned about that call?
The outgoing shift sergeant, when he returned, usually there's a roll call. I believe that day, I don't recall there being a roll call, but there was an exchange of information, as there typically is, in the dispatch area. And I was advised that there was an unresponsive man found in the snow on Fairview Road.
And that outgoing shift supervisor was who?
Sergeant Sean Good.
And what, if any, information were you given as far as the unresponsive man?
That he was a Boston police officer, and he was found at 34 Fairview Road.
Let me ask you this. At some point, did you learn what his name was?
Yes.
And who did you learn?
Mr. John O'Keefe.
And were you familiar with Mr. O'Keefe?
I had never met him before, no.
At some point, did you become aware of where he lived?
Yes.
And from what you had learned from Sergeant Good, in addition to Mr. O'Keefe being transported from the scene to the hospital, who, if anyone else, was transported from the scene to the hospital?
I was advised that his girlfriend was on the scene as well, and she was subsequently transported to Good Samaritan Hospital, the same hospital that Mr. O'Keefe was transported to.
And at some point over the course of that morning, did you become aware of any children that Mr. O'Keefe was responsible for as far as the legal guardianship?
Yes, I was made aware that he was the guardian of 2 young children that may or may not be at the house at that time unattended, given the fact that both he and his girlfriend were transported.
Based on that information, what, if anything, did you decide to do?
I'm not sure if it was a suggestion of the former chief or if it was just something that organically developed, but it seemed like the right thing to do a well-being check on the children at One Meadows Ave, which was Mr. O'Keefe's residence.
And just with respect to the former chief specifically, who are you talking about?
Ken Berkowitz.
And a well-being check, if you could describe to the jury, so what is involved in that and what does it entail as it applies to this situation?
As it applies to this situation, we believe that there may be 2 young unattended children, and knowing that both Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed wouldn't be returning to the house anytime soon, we wanted to check on them so that if they woke up and wonder where everybody was and need some assistance, that perhaps we could provide that and help locate other loved ones or bring them to the police station if we had to, just to kind of provide some sort of comforting presence.
And within the Canton Police Department, is there a specific cruiser that's allocated for sort of the shift supervisor?
Yes, 682.
And is that the cruiser that you used to go to One Meadows Ave?
We did.
And when you say we, who, if anyone, went with?
Sergeant Lehan and I. He was the incoming sergeant.
And what, if any, role does Sergeant Lehan have with regard to the department, specifically?
Now he's a detective sergeant and prosecutor. At that time, he was a shift sergeant.
And so the 682 cruiser that you were driving, are you aware that has a cruiser camera fixed to it?
Correct.
Have you had occasion to review that footage from that particular cruiser on that particular morning?
I have now, yes.
Your Honor, if I could ask to publish for the jury a portion of Exhibit 41.
Okay.
Gentlemen, if I could have that on the screen, if I could ask Ms. Gilman if you could fast forward to 2 hours, 3 minutes, and 53 seconds. And what's up on the screen right now, Lieutenant, do you recognize what that is?
That'd be the interior of Sallyport Door 3, which is where the 682 would have been parked.
And then from there is where you drove from that position to
The
One Meadows.
same door,
Ms. Gilman, if you could just run
the
forward.
same door that Karen Reed's car came through. She came in 4, go out 3. Yep. Imagine that one. See, I would ask him, do you know if the Sallyport video, if the, I would call, what's her name? Deaver, or whatever the fuck her name is. and ask her if the camera's fucked up in that goddamn Sally Port.
Gentlemen, if you could pause it there. Ms. Gilman, if you could, I would ask you to fast forward to about 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 25 seconds. If you could play from there, please.
Well, his windshield wipers at least work.
What's up on the screen, Lieutenant? Do you recognize that?
Such a nice
Yes.
house.
And what do you recognize that to be?
One Meadows Ave.
And sort of toward the middle of the screen, is that sort of a front door to the home? Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
The door that you went to, is that the door, or did you go to a different door? If you know.
I don't remember which door we went to.
Now, with respect to this home, had you ever been there before?
No.
Subsequent to this, did you come to learn also that the residents of One Meadows Ave had cameras of its own?
Yes.
Have you seen camera footage from both the driveway and the front door from the residents from that morning when you were there?
Yes.
Now, as far as a well-being check, if you could just sort of physically describe to the jury, what is it that you're doing with regard to a well-being check when you come to a house like this?
We're going to check to see if there's anybody there, which is typically the case. And we're going to go knock on doors and see if there's any activity of anybody at the home.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could hit play.
Let's show the busted out tail light that's supposedly supposed to. We're seeing it's busted, but there's snow on it. How the fuck are we supposed to see?
If you can pause it there, Mr. Now, so it appears when as you pull into the driveway at One Meadows Ave,
Which seems,
Yes.
you know, just
There's a vehicle,
perfect because
directly in front of you,
this
correct?
fucking there's no
At
on
the
his
time,
tail lights
you were not
too
aware of
on
the
that one side.
particulars of the incident that occurred earlier in the morning, correct?
Correct.
And fair to say, from what's depicted up on the screen, was that essentially what the driveway looked like at that time when you pulled in there at approximately 8:23 in the morning, correct?
Yes.
And as far as when you went to knock on the door, are you just knocking on the front door and then no one answers and that's it? Or do you look around the house? What is it that you do on a well-being check?
You would go to the front door or the door that you think everyone would use in a whatever the situation was. You take a cursory glance around to see if there's any reason to check anywhere else. In this case, it's a fenced backyard, so I'm not going to be going back there. Because if in this case, we weren't looking for someone that might be a dead body, we were looking for 2 children that would be up and active.
Now, as far as that vehicle that's parked in the driveway in front of you, did you have any reason to look at it, inspect it, or anything like that at this point that you're at the house?
No.
And as far as any condition of it, specifically the right rear passenger side, you didn't have any occasion to go inspecting that or looking at it at that point, correct?
Correct.
Now, as far as from this video, the condition of the right rear passenger side and the condition vis-a-vis the left rear passenger side, that's how it appeared in the driveway when you pulled up, correct?
Correct.
Ms. Gilman, if you could hit play.
Oh, so he's getting out from the right side, so
The
It would
individual
be
just sort of
this
walked
side.
across the front of the cruiser. Do you recognize that?
you're
Yes.
playing
That
you're
was me.
playing funny. So it would be
Your Honor,
this side.
I'm not sure how. Maybe we approach.
Okay.
If he's getting out on the side, that side, you are playing funny, dude. Oh, so we switched the vehicle around again. Isn't that funny? We switched the vehicle around again.
Lieutenant, we're going to need you back tomorrow. We're going to break for today.
Okay.
So, jurors, that's it. You can stay just for a minute, please. That's it for today. We've asked those same 3, or I give you those same 3 cautions. Please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into this case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case, please disregard it. Let us know. We'll see you tomorrow morning. So report at 8:30.
Disregard. Disregard. God. God.
Yes. No, that's it for today. We're good. Thank you. All right, you don't need me for anything, right?
No, I do not, Your Honor.
See you tomorrow.
I don't think she was asking you, fuckface. Anyways, let's go to fucking day 7. Jesus.
Time today, please. And nothing, documents. Thank you.
Yea. All persons have any business before the Honorable Henry Canoni, Justice of the Norfolk Superior Court in Flood County of Norfolk. Do I name, give your attendance, you shall be heard. Let's say Commonwealth, Massachusetts. The floor is now open.
Yeah, God said that in Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
22117, the Commonwealth versus KARENREAD. Can I have counsel identify themselves, please?
Adam Lally for the Commonwealth. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Lally.
Good morning, Your Honor. Laura McLaughlin for the
Good
Commonwealth.
morning, Ms. McLaughlin.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson from the Street.
Good morning, Mr. Jackson.
Good morning, Your Honor. Elizabeth Little, also for Ms. Reed.
Good morning, Ms. Little.
Good morning, Your Honor. David Unetti for KARENREAD.
Good morning, Ms. Giannetti. Good morning, Ms. Reed. Good morning, Jones. This is better. It's a better start. I appreciate everybody being ready to start promptly today. I do have those 3 questions to ask you. Was everyone able to follow my instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we left yesterday? Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Were you also able to follow the instruction and refrain from doing any independent research?
Okay, I'm gonna do.
Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, read anything about this case
I'm
since
gonna
we left
do
yesterday?
I'm
Everyone
gonna
said
go
no.
tell
Okay,
Kirk
thank you very much.
Roberts.
Can we bring Lieutenant Ray in, please?
No. No, I'm gonna go until they lunch. They lunch break. And then I'll do part 8 and 8. I mean 7 and 8.
Down here to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Morning. Okay, whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Picking up where we left off yesterday afternoon, Lieutenant, Ms. Gilman, if I could have Exhibit 41 back up on screen. And Lieutenant, so we're about 2 hours, 10 minutes, and 58 seconds into this particular cruiser video. With respect to the video, if you could just run during where we are and what we're looking at here.
This is 1 Meadows Ave, Canton, Mass, John O'Keefe's residence.
Hey,
And,
it's free.
if you could.
Like 4 minutes, so that will work. That will work, and then I'll be back on track.
Lieutenant Ray, while this is up on the screen, if I could ask you to you review this video since this day of January 29th, 2022, correct?
Yes.
And using the laser pointer in front of you, if you could direct the jury's attention to what, if anything, you noted in regard to the rear area of the vehicle in front of your crew.
Yeah, about 7 hours. So,
This vehicle right here is Ms. Reed's vehicle. I believe that vehicle there is Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle. And I didn't, although I didn't know it at the time, but I have since reviewed it.
Move the strike.
So let him finish his, you didn't know it at the time, but you have since what?
I have since reviewed this video, and I can tell that there is a.
Okay, the objection sustained.
Continue.
Now, during the course of
No, we just got to ask the question differently.
during the course of your being checked, where is it around the residence issue?
We initially went up to one of the front doors. I believe it was the one on the right. And we rang the doorbell, knocked on the door, and we were seeing if we could raise anybody and get any response.
And during the time that you were you able to raise anybody and get any response?
No, sir.
And at some point subsequent to this, what, if anything, did you learn as to the whereabouts of the children at the time?
If you weren't anybody,
At the
with
residence,
anybody,
823, approximately 8.
why are you saying we?
After we left and we weren't able to raise anybody, shortly thereafter, we subsequently we did find out that the children were staying with friends or family at this time.
And Lieutenant, if you know, approximately how long were you at the residence doing this well-being check?
No, because they concocted a story to
five
put
minutes.
it on her.
Maybe 10 minutes.
You know.
Ms. Gilman, if I could ask you to just bring the video forward to about 2 hours, 16 minutes, and 30 seconds.
Why 2 hours?
You can stop it there, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. Now, with reference to that driveway area that was in front of your vehicle when you parked there, what, if anything, beyond sort of snow, ice, or things like that, did you note within the driveway itself?
Come on.
Within the driveway itself, I noticed there was 2 vehicles in the driveway.
Anything on the ground that you noted that?
Oh, it snowed, Lolly.
Anything on the ground beyond snow? Did you know?
No, sir.
Oh, phew. Well, they didn't walk around the house, you dumb fuck.
You know, may I have just one moment?
Sure.
Now, sir, with reference to the residents of One Meadows Ave, are you familiar with there being a security system or a ring video system at that residence?
Yes, there is a ring camera system at that residence.
And subsequently to this date, have you seen that ring video?
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have Exhibit 6. If I could have video 159. Ms. Gilman, if I could ask you this.
20 minutes.
Now, Lieutenant Ray, what's up on the screen? Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what do you recognize that to be?
Recognize that to be the driveway of One Meadows Ave, and myself and Sergeant Lehan exiting our cruiser while in the driveway.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could just play it through from there.
Oh, you're slow. It wasn't that much snow on the ground at fucking whatever time they fucking went there, bud. That's not much snow on the ground there, bud. But they couldn't find no tele pieces over across the fucking goddamn neighbors.
And Ms. Gilman, if I can have the next video 160.
You guys are impressive.
If you could just pause it for just a moment. Now, again, what's up on the screen, Lieutenant? Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What do you recognize that to be?
That's me exiting the front of the residence, walking towards the driveway.
Ms. Gilman, if you could play through.
Wasn't that much snow on the ground. It just started. You guys are liars. Make it seem like it was a blizzard. Oh my Lord, it was blizzard. We can't handle the snow even though we live in a state where it snows. Bunch of pussies. I bet you there was red taillight pieces over there. I bet you I could find them. Let me see the divots in the snow. Can I see the little Jackson, can you get your magnifier over here, bud?
Ms. Gilman, can I have Exhibit 5? It's from that guy's video number 18. If you could just pause it there. Lieutenant, you recognize what's picked up on the screen now?
Yes.
What do you recognize that?
One of the front doors to Mr. O'Keefe's house, and I'm entering the frame on the left.
And
Okay. Who cares? Nobody's home, bitch. Go home. Oh my God, what are you doing?
Okay, can we just come in if I could have the next video 19?
Don't start your shit now.
Pause it there. Again, in addition to going to the front door and sort of in the driveway area, where, if anywhere, are you going in this video now?
It looks like I'm heading towards from this
Who
vantage
is he
point to the right,
texting?
which if you look at the house from the front would be the left. To see if there's anything in plain view through the windows, if I can see anybody, any persons, any activity.
Just if you could press play.
Doesn't look like that much snow on the ground. About 3 to 5 inches, and they're crying. The ground ain't even completely covered in his driveway.
Thank you, Scott. We can take that down, Mr. Rock. If we could have if we could have the light back on. And we kind of read this last week. Once you left the residence of One Meadows Ave, where did you go?
We went back to the police station.
Just one moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Nitty?
The defense has no questions.
Okay. You are all set. Sir. Your next witness, Mr. Riley?
Yes, Your Honor. Call Mr. Michael Camerano to the stand.
Or the guy who fucking starts crying. I feel bad for him.
Your Honor, if I may, while the witness is coming in, may we approach this
Sure.
procedural thing?
Come on.
Why'd you step over there? Please stop clicking your brain. You saw this with the State Court during the case now here to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you. Thank you. Thank you. Just need you to really speak loudly into that microphone. Thank you.
Okay, maybe I'll go with Bert Robert.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the jury?
Michael Camerano, Camerano.
And where do you live, sir?
292 Mechanic Street in Canton.
So I'm going to ask you to keep your voice up, please, okay?
Sir, if you want that microphone to jump around, whatever.
Don't dox yourself, dude.
And how long have you lived in Canton?
18 years.
And that residence you live at, who, if anyone, do you live there with?
My wife and 2 children.
And what's your wife's name?
Catherine,
And how old are your 2 children?
16 and 13.
And the 16-year-old, is that a boy or a girl?
Girl,
And your other child, is that a boy or a girl?
boy,
Now, your wife, how long have the two of you been married?
25 years.
And do you work, sir?
Yes.
What is it that you do for work?
Labor's union.
I'm still here.
And,
I'm
does
just
your wife work as well?
smoking.
Correct.
And what does she do?
She's a nurse.
Now, sir, if I could turn your attention to January 28th, 2022. Do you recall that date, sir?
Yes.
And were you working that day?
Yes.
And do you recall what day of the week that was?
Friday.
And following work, what did you do after work?
I went home, did some stuff with the kids.
And during the time that you were home, who, if anyone, did you speak with, either via phone, text?
I was talking to John O'Keefe.
And with regard to John O'Keefe, how did you know John O'Keefe?
I met John 7 years ago.
And how was it that the two of you met?
We met through mutual friends, and then our kids became very friendly.
And mutual friends through whom you met, who were they?
The Robertses,
And what are their first names?
Kurt and Kerry.
And starting with Kurt Roberts, how do you know Kurt Roberts?
I grew up with Kurt.
Where did the two of you grow up?
Milton.
So you've known Kurt Roberts most of your life, is that correct?
Correct.
And you mentioned that, so you have two children. How many children did Mr. O'Keefe have? 2. And so those two children, as far as their ages and genders, what were they in relation to your two children?
Same.
So 17-year-old girl.
13-year-old son. Yes.
And were each of your two children friends with Mr. O'Keefe's niece and nephew?
Correct.
Now, as far as friends were concerned, starting with your children and Mr. O'Keefe's niece and nephew, how close friends were they?
My daughter was extremely close.
And extremely close with John
Kaylee.
O'Keefe's niece, Kaylee.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with reference to your son and John O'Keefe's nephew, Patrick, what was sort of the nature of their relationship?
They were close also.
And as far as activities, what, if any, sort of activities did your kids do with Patrick and Kaylee?
Patrick and Michael played baseball together. Kaylee and Madeline played basketball. Soccer also.
And John O'Keefe, how would you describe your relationship with John O'Keefe?
We were close. We did a lot of stuff together. Pick up the kids, drop the kids off. We coordinated a lot of stuff together. We're friends.
And your residence versus, you're familiar with where Mr. O'Keefe lived, correct?
Yes.
Where did he live?
Meadows Ave.
And about how far away is Meadows Ave from where you live?
5 minutes.
Now, with regard to the girls, and by that I mean your daughter and John O'Keefe's niece, Kaylee, what, if anything, was going on with them on that particular day?
They both received acceptance letters to go to school.
And which school was that?
Bishop Fan?
Is that a private school?
Yes.
So at the time of this in January 28th, 2022, what grade was your daughter and Kaylee Ferguson?
8th grade.
And so this would have been going into 9th grade or high school, is that right?
Correct.
And what, if any, conversation did you have with Mr. O'Keefe in reference to that at some point in the afternoon?
We were both excited. They both received acceptance letters, and we wanted to get the kids together.
May I approach?
Yes.
I'm directing your attention.
Show counsel.
I'm showing you the document.
Okay.
Just as far as specifically with reference to starting on page 188 of that document. You can just look at that.
So I'm going to instruct the jury on this. These are text messages, right? All right. So folks, before you consider any electronic communications in your deliberations, you must first find that it's more likely true than not that the person who authored or sent these messages is this witness and or John O'Keefe. If you do not find that it's more likely true than not that the messages were sent or authored by Mr. Camerata or Mr. O'Keefe, then you may not consider the electronic communication in deciding this case. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Lally.
May I approach this briefly again?
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry. Before I do that, Mr. Camerano, do you recognize what's depicted on that page that I just showed you?
Yes.
What do you recognize it to be?
Text messages.
And those text messages that you had back and forth with Mr. O'Keefe on that date of January 28th?
Correct.
Your Honor, call to seek to introduce and admit the report.
Is there any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Camerano, bring your attention back to page 187 of that document. Do you see anything in there listing sort of participants in a text communication or conversation? On the bottom of the page.
Yes.
And as far as who are sort of listed as the participants in that conversation that comes to follow on the next page? Sorry, so just from page 187.
My wife.
Your wife and who, if anyone else?
John.
And your wife, John, and is your number there as well? Sorry, you have to.
Correct.
So essentially, that's a conversation between yourself, your wife, Catherine, and John O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
Now, beyond sort of your memory of that, as far as the numbers that are associated with those names, do you recognize any of those numbers as being yours, your wife's, and John O'Keefe's?
No, there's just 3 numbers there.
Now, sir, if I could ask you to flip the page to the next one, 188. Your Honor, with the court's permission, may Ms. Gilman publish this to the jury as well?
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you could go to page 188. I'm sorry, Ms. Gilman, if you could just, thank you. So, sir, what's up on the screen right now? Is that what you have before you as page 188 of exhibits? I believe it's 48.
Yes.
What's up on the screen? Is that what you have before you?
Correct.
Okay. And as far as from these conversations, there are blue bubbles and green bubbles. Is that correct?
Correct.
And if you can tell from the content or from anything else on the page for you, who was communicating in the blue bubble and who was communicating in the green?
Katie, my wife.
From within.
Oh no, I'm communicating. Sorry, excuse me.
So there's a from and a to. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
And so the sender would be in the from. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
So this first one on the top of page 188. This is from you. Is that correct?
Correct.
What, if anything, did you say in this conversation?
Congrats. This is great news.
And what, if anything, are you referring to by that?
Kaylee getting her acceptance letter.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could just scroll down. And the next bubble, who is that from and what does it say?
It's from me. Yes, we did.
And if you could continue to scroll down, Ms. Gilman. And again, from this bubble, who is this from and what does it say?
It's from John. Same news, I hope.
Is that still in reference to the news regarding the team?
Correct.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down. Yeah. And again, sir, the next bubble, who is it from and what does it say?
It's from me. Yes.
Good. The next green bubble, what, if anything, does that say? And who is it from?
From John. Sweet. Congrats, Madeline.
And is that your daughter's name?
Correct.
And if you could continue to scroll down, Ms. Gilman. And again, the next bubble, who's it from and what is it?
It's from my wife. I'm so excited for these girls. Madeline doesn't know yet.
Ms. Gilman, if you could. Now. And again, the next bubble, who is it from and what does it say?
From JJ.
And
Well, I told Kaylee already, so I'm sure she's texted her by now. Poor kid is probably a nervous wreck.
Ms. Gilman, if you could. And the next bubble,
I know.
and who is that from?
It's from my wife, Kate.
And if you could scroll down again, Ms. Gilman. And the next bubble, sir.
From me, I am sure she is freaking out.
If you could scroll down again, please. And the next bubble, sir, who is it from and what does it say?
From John. No doubt.
And if you could scroll down again, Ms. Gilman. Thank you. Now, sir, if I could, may I approach on just
Yes. Do we need the lights on?
I don't.
Mr. Camerata, are you able to see without these lights on?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
So, sir, I'm going to direct your attention to within the same exhibits, page 156. And so just before we get to that, on this particular day, January 28, 2022, where was your wife that day?
She was at home.
And at some point, did she go to work on the 28th?
Correct.
And what is sort of her typical work schedule with reference to, at that time, what was her sort of typical work schedule with reference to weekends?
She worked weekend nights, her shift.
And as far as your typical schedule on Friday evenings, what, if anything, was it that you would typically do?
Friday, I would be with the kids. I would get them ready for stuff for the weekend, take care of all the activity that we have.
And then in reference to that, as far as the weekends were concerned, or Friday evenings in particular, what, if any, sort of usual thing would you do with reference to Mr. O'Keefe?
I would usually go over the O'Keefe's house every Friday.
And with your children, is that correct?
Correct. With at least one of them, if not both of them.
So either your son's hanging out with Patrick or your daughter's hanging out with Kaylee, typically on Friday, correct?
Correct.
Now, with reference to what you have before you as page 156 of this exhibit, again, towards the bottom, is there an indication as to a conversation starting on the next page as far as who, if anyone, the participants are?
What are you asking?
May I approach on?
Yes.
So what I want to direct your attention to is the bottom of page 156 here, as far as that box at the bottom. What, if anything, does that indicate as far as the participants in the conversation that continues or begins on the next page?
Myself and John.
And sir, if I could ask you to flip the page over to page 157. And Your Honor, with court's permission, can I publish this part of the conversation for the debate?
Yes. There's no objections to Jackson, right?
No objection.
Your Honor, for the record, we're going from page 156 to page 159. And so, Mr. Conrad, again, what's up on the screen, is that what you have before you at page 157?
Correct.
And you can look at either, whether it's the book in front of you,
Okay.
or it's easier to see the screen, either is fine. But with reference to what's up on the screen, that first bubble, as if you could indicate to the jury again who it's from and what it's
It's from JJ. How did Kara do, by the way?
and who is Karen?
I don't know.
Fair enough. Now, with reference, Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down. And the next bubble again. I'm sorry. May I,
Take the screen down, please, Ms. Gilman. Turn on the lights, please. Thank you.
May I have just a moment with counsel?
Sure.
may I approach just to retrieve the exhibit?
Yes. Yeah.
And just for the record, Your Honor, I would ask at this point to strike whatever, I don't think there was a whole lot done on that page, but whatever that was, did not
Yes,
seem to
it was an I don't know answer. So
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. So jurors disregard that last question and answer.
directing your attention, Mr. Cameron, to what's on 157 before you. Is that what's up on the screen now?
Yes.
And so my apologies. With regard to this first bubble on page 157.
They try to
from
pull a
what-
fast one. You see
From
that
JJ.
shit?
You guys around tonight?
Shut up.
It's coming, if you could scroll down. And with respect to that next blue bubble, who is it from and what is it?
From me,
Okay, when I
Kate
get
is working.
done
I'm
with
around.
this,
Madeline Michael is going to
I'll
the
come
loose
over.
to play with a friend.
I'll come over.
And what is a loose play?
The loose is elementary school.
And was there a play?
The play, there's a park down there. Activities for kids.
And Ms. Kim, if you could scroll down to the next bubble. And again, who is it from and what does it say, sir?
From JJ. Okay. At the driveway with her now. I'll text on my way back.
And could that be at the doctor's?
Oh
Could
my
be.
gosh, I'm gonna have to fast
And,
forward you
Ms.
so
Kim, if you could
fast.
scroll down to the next bubble.
God, you're talking so slow.
And again, who is it from and what does it say?
Oh, Don. From me to JJ. Everything okay?
And if you could down to the next bubble, Ms. Kim. And again, who is it from and what does it say?
From JJ. Yes, stupid shit.
And if you could scroll down to the next bubble, Ms. Kim. Yeah, fair to say that one. So far, no text, but maybe.
Yeah. And go back to the microphone or
Always when they
Who's
want
coming?
to
Next one has no
enter
text, we're gonna go.
fuckery, the
Correct.
sirens.
and now you can move out of the way. I just wanted that question.
The next bubble below that green one, again, who is it from and what does it say, sir?
From Johnny. Just told Dr. Jin that they both got into fiend.
And if you could scroll down to the next bubble. And again, green bubble, who is it from and what does it say, sir?
From Johnny. Want to drop Madeline off and hit the hillside for a bit.
And what is the hillside, sir?
It's a pub.
And where is it located?
In Canton.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down again. The blue bubble on the screen, who is that from and what does it say?
From me to Johnny. I probably won't get to your house till 5:30.
Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down again. And then that green bubble, who is it from and what does it say?
From Johnny. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And again, the blue bubble on the screen, who is it from and what does it say?
From me. I am leaving in 10.
And if you scroll down again.
I'm a 60 mofo.
Johnny. Okay.
Hold on 1 second, sir. Just so that everyone knows.
Oh,
Okay, sir. And next green bubble.
Could you answer again, please?
Yes. From JJ. Okay.
Thank you.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down one last time, and that's, thank you. Ms.
come
Gilman,
on,
you can,
hurry up and talk. Jesus
Your Honor, may I
Christ.
approach this retreat?
Yes.
Oh, are we done with the bullshit fucking text? Okay, I can go back to one
Now,
point.
Mr. Cameron, with regard to your statement in the text as far as leaving now, where were you leaving? and
Wait,
where were you
maybe
going?
let me see.
Leaving my house. Going to John's house.
Oh, see, you talk
And
slow. So I'm just gonna
who, if
leave
anyone, was
you at
going with you at that
1.5.
My daughter.
And if you know approximately what time did you arrive at Mr. O'Keefe's house?
I don't.
Now, through your friendship with Mr. O'Keefe, did you become familiar with a person named Karen Reed?
Yes.
And how did you become familiar with her, and who if anyone, was she from Mr. O'Keefe as far as?
John introduced me to her. She was John's girlfriend.
And just to be clear, do you see Ms. Reed in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Could you just identify as to where she's seated, or an article of clothing mentioned tonight?
She's sitting right there.
No, just as a record reflect identification of the identified witness.
Yes.
Now, with regard to Ms. Reed,
Don't look
prior
at her
to
with
that day, January
disgust,
28th,
motherfucker.
how long
Let her go through her
known Ms. Reed?
trial first. Don't
Year?
assume shit.
Approximately when you met her?
No.
And as
This
far
seems
as
so
you were aware,
disgusted.
where Mr. O'Keefe lived, did Ms. Reed live there as well?
Shh. Yes, not full time.
So she had a house of her own, as far as you knew?
Correct.
And about how often on a given week would you see Mr. O'Keefe?
Couple times.
And about how often would you see Ms. Reed?
I would see her also.
Now, as far as your relationship with Mr. O'Keefe and or Ms. Reed, would there be occasions where you would see Mr. O'Keefe without Ms. Reed?
Correct. Yes.
Would there be any occasion where you would see Ms. Reed without Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
And where would that be?
At the house. Maybe at Fields.
Now, with reference to their relationship, what, if any, conversation did you have with Mr. O'Keefe in regard to his relationship with Ms. Reed?
Objection.
Sustain, we need a time frame.
In the time period around, say, the weeks leading up to January 28, 2020, what, if any, conversations do you recall
And they
having
go
with,
trying to say
Mr.
like
O'Keefe
they're
regarding this
fighting is what caused her to fucking do this
Just
shit.
regular guy conversations.
Anything specific that you can recall?
No,
Now, when you arrived at the house, or typically when you would come over to Mr. O'Keefe's house, where is it that you would park?
in the driveway to the right.
Maybe he don't think
And
that
is
she
that what you
did
did on this
anything.
particular day?
Yes.
Maybe I'm just blowing smoke up.
When you arrived at the house, where did you go?
Into the house.
Yourself and your daughter?
Yes.
And when you got in there, who, if anyone, was at the house at that time?
Kaylee and John.
And what is it that you did, or what is it that occurred while you were in the house?
Excuse me.
What happened in the house?
We were just congratulating the girls, talking about how good it's going to be, different school, and just really excited for the girls.
Aw.
And at some point, did yourself
Try
and Mr.
not
O'Keefe
to
make
lose
plans to
it,
leave?
dude.
Yes.
And where did you go?
We went down to McCarthy's.
And that's CF McCarthy's?
Correct.
Is that an establishment? Where is that?
It's in Canton Center.
And about how far away from Mr. O'Keefe's house is that?
5-10 minutes.
And is that somewhere that you're familiar with? You've been before?
Not frequently. No.
Now, with regard to, you know approximately what time you left Mr. O'Keefe's house and went to CF McCarthy's?
I don't.
And where were the girls when the two of you went to CF McCarthy's?
They were in the house.
And at the time that you left there and went to CF McCarthy's, who, if anyone else, were there any plans as far as meeting anybody else there?
I'm supposed to meet Karen.
Now, prior to leaving the house, what, if anything, did you or Mr. O'Keefe do with reference to the vehicles that were in the driveway?
So when we were leaving the house, I was parked in the driveway. John was parked on the left side of the driveway. John asked me to, I backed up so John could move his car out of the way so Karen could pull her car into the garage because of the snowstorm.
I'm sorry, you said because of the what now?
Snowstorm?
And as far as the snowstorm was concerned, what, if anything, did you know at that point in regard to that?
We were supposed to get a lot of snow.
I may have just one moment, John.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus. Hurry up.
I'm just trying to remember which.
Oh, he's
With the court's permission, I would ask that Ms. Gilman be allowed to publish a part of Exhibit 6, which is the driveway of the ring video.
Okay.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could ask for video number 145. I'm sorry, if you could pause it right there. Ms. Cameron, do you recognize what's up on?
Yes.
And what do you recognize as?
Myself and my daughter.
And as far as, may I approach the witness again, Your Honor?
Yes.
So just before you hear, this is a laser pointer from this press.
Okay. Okay.
And Ms. Cameron, using that laser pointer that you now have with you, if you could direct the jury's attention to where in this video you observe yourself and your daughter. And there are two vehicles in this sort of frame, is that correct?
Yes.
And if you could, using the laser pointer, just describe to the jury whose car is who and where it is.
The white car is mine. The SUV is John's.
Now, as far as the ring system that Mr. O'Keefe had at his house at this time, as far as your knowledge of it, what, if anything, would the two of you do with reference to sort of picking up or dropping off kids in the ring video?
Yes, he had a camera, so like I'd always wave or give him, I always knew that he was like watching.
And do you know how he was watching if he wasn't home?
Yes, on his phone.
So would that be sort of a running joke between the two of you?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Gilman, if you could.
I seriously need to get me one of those chairs, Kevin. My fucking neck hurts. I'm sitting where I'm sitting.
If you could just pause it there briefly. Now, Mr. Cameron, you're familiar with Mr. O'Keefe's house. You've been there plenty of times, correct?
Yes.
And with reference to sort of where you and your daughter sort of exited from the screen, what, if any, sort of entrances to the home are located in that area?
2 garage doors.
And are you familiar with that garage area?
Yes.
Is that typically how you would enter the house?
Yes.
And with regard to sort of the condition of the garage, was Mr. O'Keefe particular about that?
Yes. He was.
And how so?
He always kept things very tight. He was like OCD.
And so as far as garage doors, and what I mean by garage doors is
That's going to come into play later.
there's two
'cause,
garage
you know,
doors.
They're going to say, "Oh, well,
They go up
Karen
and down,
didn't
and there's a
take off
door.
her shoe." Well, bitch, she
Just a
was
single
in
entry
hurry
door.
trying to find out where the fuck John was.
There was an old classic car he had,
Take off
convertible.
my shoes either.
And then as far as the right door,
It was empty.
It's an emergency.
and once beyond those sort of bay doors that go up and down, what if any other entranceway into the garage was?
There's a side door.
And if you recall, when you were entering at that time on 28th with your daughter, how did you enter it?
We went to the garage door, electric door.
And was that something, what if anything was affixed to those garage doors as far as security was concerned? Beyond that?
A keypad. We have to punch in a key.
And at the time or at any time, were you familiar with what that passcode was?
Yes.
Now, when you walk into the garage, how is it that you get from the garage to the house?
You walk into the garage and you walk up 3 steps and you go into a door.
And then once you sort of walk up the 3 steps and go into the door, what part of the house are you in when you enter?
You're pretty much in the kitchen.
And you mentioned that Mr. O'Keefe was meticulous, if not OCD, when it came to the garage. How did that relate to how he kept the house?
The same. Everything was very tidy. When you walked in the door into the house, to the left, you put your shoes, your coats would be hung there.
And as far as shoes were concerned, is that something that you wore inside the house? Or
He'd rather you not.
and that was pretty well known to people that had been there before, correct?
Yes.
Now, this
Yeah,
one from the
Too
same
many
exhibit, if I
shit
could,
all over my clothes.
actually, I'm sorry. Your Honor, with regard to the next video that's not contained on this Exhibit 5 from the same video, I would offer that at this time as the next exhibit.
And there was no objection, Mr. Jackson?
No objection.
Okay,
Exhibit 49.
thank you.
Your Honor, for the record, this would relate to Exhibit 6 and it's video number 148. And with the court's permission, may I publish that jury at this time, Your Honor?
Yes.
Oh, that must be oil sticks or something.
What was just up on the video, sir? It's just up
He
on the
had
screen as
no
video number
hair in the
148.
back.
That was
He
what you were
had-
just
he was
previously
bald
as far
on
as
the
moving
top.
cars.
Correct.
And why was that again?
So Karen could pull in the driveway, in the garage, excuse me.
So the expectation, from your understanding, is that Ms. Reed was coming back to the house at Meadows later on that evening.
Correct.
Now, as Mr. O'Keefe from that video on the screen there was walking to the car, did you happen to notice how he was dressed?
Yes.
And as far as what you observed in that video, what you recall from that evening, is that how he was dressed that evening?
Yes.
And when I say how he was dressed, for sort of the entirety of the time that you were with him.
Yes.
So it's January 28th. You recall, you indicated there was a snowstorm coming. It was cold out, is that correct?
Correct.
And with reference to that, was Mr. O'Keefe someone that would typically wear a coat?
No.
And ever? That you can recall?
Never that I can recall.
And Your Honor, with the court's permission, with reference to that same Exhibit 6, if I could publish video number 149.
Okay.
And off they go to the liquor store. No, they will go to the bar. They lead to the bar.
And Ms. Newman, for the sake of time, and yes, you can break down. So from that video, Ms. Camerano, what is it that you and Mr. O'Keefe are doing in that video?
We're heading down to McCarthy's.
Now,
Do you want the lights on, Mr. Lally?
yes.
Thank you.
The judge is so fucking finicky.
Now, at some point after you arrived at C.F. McCarthy's, who, if anyone else, sort of joined your group?
Kurt.
And that'd be Kurt Roberts, is that
Correct.
And how was it that he came to C.F. McCarthy's that night? If you know?
I texted him.
And in general terms, what did you call sort of what that text communication was like between yourself and Mr. Roberts?
Yes, he said he was busy. He was doing something that I texted him that he was a pussy.
And following that text, Mr. Roberts eventually arrived at C.F. McCarthy's.
He showed up, yes.
And about how long after you and Mr. O'Keefe arrived?
I would like to say maybe an hour.
And if you know, when was it that at some point you indicated Ms. Reed appeared at CF McCarthy's as well?
Correct.
And do you know about how long after yourself and John arrived that Ms. Reed?
I don't.
Now, with reference to that establishment of CF McCarthy's, are you aware or have you become aware that there was a surveillance video from inside the bar that night?
Yes.
You've seen some of that footage, is that correct?
Yes.
You want a mayor approach?
Yes.
I'll want to seek to introduce and admit the surveillance video from CF McCarthy's as the next exhibit.
And there's no objection, Mr. Jackson.
There's none.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tori.
Now, with the court's permission, I would seek to publish portions of that video for the jury at this time.
Okay.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could, from that video, the first video, if I could ask you to play from about 7 minutes and 40 seconds, and we'll go through about 9 minutes or so. If you could possibly say. Now, do you recognize what's up on the screen this time around?
Yes.
And what do you recognize that to be?
CF McCarthy's.
And yourself and Mr. O'Keefe are not in frame at this time, is that correct?
No.
If you could, using the laser pointer before you, if you could direct the jury's attention to where it was about in reference to the bar that you and Mr. O'Keefe eventually came to congregate that.
These seats here?
And from this video, from your time there that night or prior occasions, can you see sort of where the front door is to the establishment?
Yes.
Could you direct the jury's attention to where that is?
Maybe I should take myself off.
And so what I'm going to ask in just a moment for Ms. Gilman to press play, and then what I'd ask you to do is if
No, I
you
don't need
could just direct the jury's attention to when, if at all, you observe yourself and Mr. O'Keefe walking.
Okay.
Ms. Gilman, if you could.
There they come. Go right to the
Ms. Gilman,
bar.
right there. And just, I'm sorry, Ms. Cameron, you're directing with the laser pointer.
Sorry.
If you could just describe what you're directing. Please.
That is me. And that is John.
And thanks.
Well-
Ms. Gilman, if you could just again play this through the 9 minutes.
Can we get a drink, suckers? Let us get a drink, suckers. Cheers. Oh, what a cool dude. Well, he's got dark hair in that video. At the bar. The bar.
We're at about 9 minutes and 41 seconds or so.
Okay.
So with reference to Steve McCarthy, you went there, had some drinks, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall what you were drinking or what John was drinking that night?
Beer.
Is that sort of typical for the two of you?
Beer.
Yes.
Do you recall,
Beer.
sort of, was that from the tap, a bottle, or something?
From the bottle.
And do you recall what type of beer typically you would drink or Mr. O'Keefe would drink?
Who cares?
Bud Light.
And
Fuck.
do you recall specifically that's what you had that night, or that's just what you typically had?
Here's what
Typically, I
goddamn
think we had
kind
Bud
of
Light.
beer. It was beer, motherfucker.
And if you know approximately how many beers or how many drinks did you have over the course of your time at CF McCarthy's that night?
I don't.
As far as yourself versus Mr. O'Keefe,
They
you
were
recall sort of in
shit
relation
faced.
to each other, how much you each had to drink?
They all were drinking and driving.
Not, maybe 6 beers.
And what I'm asking, sir, is it's not like, did one of you have 10 and one of you had 2, or was it sort of commensurate with each other?
Commensurate one for one.
So essentially, you're buying rounds as you go along.
Correct.
Now, from your time at CF McCarthy's, how would you describe sort of the tone or sort of the demeanor within the group that you were in that night?
Pretty good.
So no arguments, no fighting, anything like that? you recall?
No.
And just briefly going back to the clothing that you observed Mr. O'Keefe wearing in this and that you recall him wearing that night, what, if any, damage or tears or anything like that did you note in any of his clothing that night?
No.
I did not see any.
Now, Ms. Gilman, if I could ask you to take this down and go to the third video. And Ms. Gilman, if I could direct your attention to the 6-minute and 10-second mark through the 7-minute mark. When you get 6 minutes, figure this part.
Here comes Karen.
Now, Ms. Cameron, I'm directing your attention to the screen. If you could, from the parties that were within your group sort of that night at the bar, if you could just direct your attention to who was who, or if anyone you recognize.
Kurt,
So in addition to yourself and Mr. O'Keefe, Mr. Roberts has now joined your group.
correct.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could just play it from.
There's Karen.
You could pause there, please. Now, with reference to Mr. Roberts, was he a beer drinker as well?
Yes,
From a bottle that night, same sort of thing that yourself and Mr. O'Keefe were having?
correct.
And from where it's paused at this point in the video, who's anyone else? you
Because they're
recognize?
trying to say that
Frame
Karen
on
was the one only having shots.
Karen Reed.
Nobody else.
And so from this, is this about the time that she entered the
Fuck
establishment?
outta
or
here.
came into the bar?
They still were drinking
Yes.
and driving, all of them.
Now,
That's crazy.
with reference to Ms. Reed, what, if anything, do you recall her drinking during your time that you were both at C.F. McCarthy's that night?
She was drinking out of a glass.
And if you know, what if anything did you observe as far as the color of what was in the glass?
It was clear.
And beyond sort of the clear liquid in the glass, what, if anything else, did you observe in the glass as far as a straw, fruit, anything like that?
A straw, maybe.
And what, if anything, did you know what was in the glass?
I didn't.
As far as you could tell what was in the glass?
Vodka?
Is that something that Ms. Reed would typically drink if you had been out with her on prior dates?
Yes.
Hey,
Now,
the ladies of I
I don't know
talk.
if keep jumping back and forth between, but Ms. Gilman, if you could just hit play again, I'm going to let it run, to the 7-minute mark.
You all were drinking. Why is he trying to negate the fact that they all were having beers and drinking? Whether it was beer, shots, it don't fucking matter. They all were drinking and driving, but you pin it on her. Fucking assholes.
Thank you. Now, Ms. Gilman, from this same third video in this exhibit of the C.F. McCarthy's, if I could ask you to forward to the 14-minute mark, pause there. And if you could, I would ask that you play this from the 14-minute mark until about 14 minutes and 15 seconds, just about 15 seconds. And Ms. Gilman, you can take that down for now. Ms. Cameron, you indicated that your son was at Blues Elementary School for a play of some sort, is that correct?
I appreciate
He was
that,
for a
the
little bit.
ladies of I talk.
And from there, where, if anywhere else, did he go then?
He went to a friend's house to skate in his backyard.
Skate as far as just skating, or what, if anything else was he?
He was skating at a little party.
Well, let me ask you this, was he a hockey player?
Yes, he's a hockey player.
So when you say skating, in the
Skating,
backyard.
yes. Makeshift hockey rink in somebody's backyard.
And at some point with relation to that, what, if anything, sort of caused you to leave C.F. McCarthy's on that night?
I received a phone call that my son was hit in the face with a hockey stick and he lost his tooth.
And so upon receiving that call, where did you go?
I went to go get him.
And do you recall about what time that was that you left C.F. McCarthy's to go get him?
I don't recall.
You still were driving drunk. They all were driving drunk.
Now,
Let's
from
be
the group
honest.
that you were with, as far as yourself, Mr. O'Keefe, Ms. Reed, and Mr. Roberts, who, if anyone, left first?
I believe Kurt.
Who are you going to
And
text?
do you recall sort of how it was that,
Oh,
that Kurt left?
Kurt just got up and left.
So sort of an Irish goodbye?
Yeah, Irish goodbye, yes.
That's something he's known for?
Yes.
And about when was that in relation to when you left?
Like
Not too soon
Higgins?
after.
The Irish goodbye?
soon after or not too soon?
Bye, kick.
I left after probably, I'd like to say 15 minutes after Kurt left.
Now, with the court's permission, Your Honor, I'd just like to publish just 2 more segments on this.
Okay.
So Ms. Gilman, if I could direct your attention to the 4th video. 4th one down. And if I could ask you to forward it to about 19 minutes and 40 seconds. Okay, quickly. Ms. Gilman, if I could ask you to just pause it there for 1 second. Now, Ms. Cameron, from your looking at this surveillance video here, or from your memory of that night, you see Mr. O'Keefe speaking to another gentleman. Is that correct?
Yes.
You know who that person is?
Yes.
And who is that person?
Sully.
And do you know his first name or anything beyond just Sully?
Sully, I don't know his first name.
And how is it that you know him?
Kids play baseball with his son.
So in addition to your son playing baseball with Mr. O'Keefe's nephew, Mr. Roberts, does he have a son that's around the same age?
Correct.
And this individual, Sully, he has a child that plays baseball with the three of your kids?
Correct.
Is that someone that you had contacted to meet there, or he just happened to be?
He just happened to be there.
Ms. Gilman, if you could just play again and just went about the 20-minute mark. Now, Ms. Gilman, if you could move that forward again to 24 minutes and 10 seconds. And if you could just let this run until about 24 minutes and 20 seconds, so just about 10 seconds. And so, Ms. Cameron, do you see yourself in that portion of the video?
Yes.
And you know what you were doing at that time?
Leaving.
And so prior to leaving, had you sort of settled up a tab or something?
Yes, I picked up the tab.
And then you left and went to get your son, correct?
Correct.
Ms. Gilman, you can take that down, please. Now, Mr. Cameron, you left there and went to pick up your son, is that correct?
Yes.
And following picking up your son, where did you go from there?
Back to John's house.
And why did you go back to John's house at that?
My daughter was there picking her up.
You went to pick up your daughter?
Correct.
And you recall approximately what time that was?
11.
And when you came back to the residence at One Meadows, did you park in the driveway again?
Correct.
And did you physically sort of go in the house to pick up your son?
No, I did. No, I did not.
Now, as far as from the time that from the time that you left with Mr. O'Keefe to go to see McCarthy's versus the time that you came back, anything changed as far as the position of Mr. O'Keefe's car?
No.
What, if anything, did you note as far as
What does it
the
matter?
doors
Oh
were
my
concerned,
God,
or any
this is
damage or
weird.
anything like that?
Everything looked normal.
And, Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would seek
What
to just publish
question was that, Lally? That has
another
nothing to do
video or
with
two
the
from
fucking
Exhibit
case.
6.
Okay.
Ah.
And at this time, Ms. Gilman, if I could have from the driveway again, video 152.
Oh, my hip hurts.
Ms. Gilman, you can stop there.
How much longer is this?
Now, from that video 152 that was just up on screen, sir, can you describe for the jury, excuse me, just as sort of what was going on in that video?
I was picking up my daughter, Madeline, and my son, Michael, was with me. Yes, all three of us.
Who cares?
And where did you go from there?
Home.
And when you got home, well, let me ask you this first. During the time that you were at C.F. McCarthy's, you obviously, at some point, you didn't do an Irish goodbye?
No.
So at some point, you indicated to Mr. O'Keefe and or Ms. Reed that you were leaving to go pick up your son?
Yes.
And what, if any, indication did they give you as far as where they were going, or what were their intentions for the rest of the evening?
They were heading either across the street or to the hillside.
And when you say across the street, what, if anything, was across the street?
There's another bar room.
Is that the waterfall?
Waterfall, yes.
You familiar with that establishment as well?
Yes.
And where is that in relation to C.F. McCarthy?
Across the street to the left. If you were coming out of C.F. McCarthy's.
Walking distance, is that correct?
Correct.
So is the
And
waterfall and
You leave
hillside
your
the
son,
same
pick up your daughter
fucking
at
bar?
O'Keefe's house, and then you go home, correct?
Correct.
And when you get home, about how much longer were you up before you went to bed?
Wasn't that much longer.
And when you typically go to bed, what, if anything, do you do with your phone?
Put him on the charger.
Where's the charger located in reference?
In the kitchen.
And when following to the next day, about what time is it that you wake up on the 29th?
5:30, 6 a.m.
And what was it that woke you up, if you know?
Phones ringing.
And how many phones do you have?
2.
And essentially one personal, one work, is that correct?
Correct.
Were both phones ringing or one of the other?
One phone at that time.
Was that your work or your personal?
My personal phone.
And get up, you hear that, you look at your phone, what, if anything, do you see on the screen?
I see a lot of missed calls, a bunch of missed calls from Karen, and missed calls from my wife's work.
And when you say missed calls, we're talking about one call, several calls,
Several calls.
any voicemails that you recall associated with those phones?
I don't recall.
And so based on sort of making that observation of the missed calls, what do you do with that?
I pick up the phone and call my wife.
And what, if anything, did you learn from your wife?
My wife said to me that John.
Okay, sustained.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Okay.
No, you can't get that in, Lolly. Just get his wife on the fucking stand.
At the time, your wife tells you that Kaylee's home in Meadows Ave by herself.
Yes.
And so based on that information, what is it that you do next?
I realized that Kaylee's home alone, so I throw some clothes on, go out to the car, clean the car off real quick, and get in the car and go.
When you say clean the car off real quick, what, if anything, did you have to clean off?
Oh
cleaned
my
the snow off
God, it
front
was
windshield.
snowing.
And again, you sort of drive over to John's house to get Kaylee.
Correct.
And when you get there, you pull in the driveway as well.
Yes.
And when you get to John's house and you pull in the driveway, what, if anything, did you observe about sort of the condition of the garage doors at that point?
When I pulled in, I could tell the door, the garage door was open, left open.
Which one? The one to the right? Or
To the one to the right.
And you go inside that door?
I do.
And what, if anything, did you do once you went inside?
Once I went inside, I saw Kaylee. I asked Kaylee get whatever she needed and to come and get in the car. While she was doing that, I started clearing some snow. I thought maybe snow hit the sensors so that the door couldn't go down.
And so you start clearing the snow with a shovel?
With the shovel that was in the garage, yes.
And after you had cleared some of the snow with the shovel, what did you do with regard to the doors at that point?
So I tried to put them down. They wouldn't go down. Then I asked Kaylee, I think, to re-enter the code to see if she could get the doors to go down, but the doors would not go down. The door.
And at some point, how did you get the...
So there's a red rope. I manually pulled that, shut the door, locked the doors. There's 2 side locks on the garage door, and I went out through the side garage door.
Now, when you arrived at the residence and you pulled into the driveway, do you recall how many vehicles were in the driveway when you got there?
Yes.
And how many?
2.
And whose vehicles were they?
John's and Karen's.
And John's vehicle, where was that in relation to the last time that you saw it when you picked up your daughter?
Same spot.
And as far as defendant Ms. Reed's vehicle, where was that in relation to the garage or in relation to the driveway?
It was pulled in on the left side, all the way in.
So in the area of the garage door that you were just speaking
Correct.
about?
Mhm.
And at that time, did you look at the vehicle or touch the vehicle?
Oh my God.
No.
Fair to say that your focus was sort of on the garage door and the fact that it was open, correct?
Correct.
And why was that? Maybe self-evident, but why was your focus?
Because I figured John would go crazy when he came home and all the snow was in his garage.
Now, at any point in time when you initially got a call from your wife, did you yourself reach out to John at any point?
I did not.
All right, if I may, I would just seek to publish just a few more videos from Exhibit 6, the driveway ring.
Okay.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have from those first starting with video 155 and essentially just going to go 155 to 158. If you could pause it. And Ms. Camerata, you recognize what's up on screen again?
Yes, my car.
Is this sort of when you're pulling in to get killed?
Correct.
Using the laser pointer before you, again, if you could just direct the jury's attention to where you observed Ms. Reed's vehicle. And is that essentially from what you observed there, that's where it was the entirety of the time that you were there?
Yes.
So nobody else came to the home during the time that you were there to pick up Kaylee and shoveling out snow from the garage?
No.
Ms. Gilman, if you could just run.
Why did I pause it? Hurry up so I can finish. Okay.
Ms. Gilman, if you could play the next video, 156.
Yeah, barely any snow, like 3 to 5 freaking inches. Jesus. And they're trying to say they couldn't find taillight pieces. Get the fuck out of here.
Last name is Gilman, Leo 158. So, Mr. Cameron, what was just in those last 4 videos that were played before the jury? Is that essentially the process that you were describing as far as yourself and Kaylee trying to get the garage door down?
Correct.
And so you leave from there and go back to your house, is that correct?
Yes.
And so where sort of you and Kaylee go once you get inside?
We go into the house. We're in the kitchen in my house, and my daughter. We get my daughter up.
And your daughter then sort of hangs out with Kaylee for a period of time?
Correct. They go downstairs and they're hanging out.
And at some point in time, how does Kaylee leave your house, or where does she go?
I take Kaylee home.
And why is it that you take Kaylee home? About what time is it, if you know?
I don't know what time. Paul had called me.
And by Paul, who do you mean?
Paul O'Keefe, John's brother.
And he informed you that John passed?
Yes.
So you took Kaylee to the house on Meadows Ave to be with your family, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Jackson?
Thank you.
Mr. Cameron, just a few questions. You and your wife did spend a lot of time with John O'Keefe and Karen Read as a couple, correct?
Decent amount, yes.
Would you consider John one of your best friends?
A good friend.
In fact, you were close enough that your children spent a lot of time with John O'Keefe and Karen Read as a couple and their kids, correct?
Correct.
In fact, is it true that sometimes they would even vacation together with Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Read?
Correct.
There was a trusting relationship that you had with both Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Read to put your kids in their care.
Correct.
You mentioned this wonderful news about your kids, your daughter getting into this great school. I think it was called Bishop.
Bishop fan, yes.
Before the acceptance, there was actually a sort of a process, like an open house that you needed to take the kids to, correct?
Yes.
You took your daughter, right?
I don't recall.
You remember being at an open house, a tour of Bishop with Karen Read and John O'Keefe and John's niece?
I do recall being in an auditorium. I do.
Yeah, big auditorium, big tour of the school.
Yes.
All the kids getting in.
Yes.
Okay. To make sure it's the right fit for the kids.
Correct.
And Karen was there, sort of as a
She was.
matriarch for John's niece.
Yes.
Matriarch.
Your daughter spent a lot of time just with Karen, Miss Read.
Correct.
Going to Miss Read's house, having Miss Read care for her,
Correct.
and you had no issues with that
No.
because you liked Karen. You
Correct.
liked Miss Read.
Correct.
It was probably, did you say once a week that you would hang out with and socialize with Miss Read and Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
So you got to know them not just individually, but as a couple together, correct?
Yes.
Stop answering
saw
the
them on those Friday
questions
nights,
for
right?
him, Karen.
Correct.
But
You never saw them argue or fight?
Argue.
Matter of fact, one time you were asked about this in front of a grand jury and you said, I wouldn't even call it bickering, it would just banter together.
I guess so. Yes.
You never heard Mr. O'Keefe complain about Miss Read or vice versa?
No, I did hear him complain about like when Karen would buy like very nice things for the kids, like he wouldn't like that, stuff like that, or take the kids to get their nails done or something like that.
So maybe spoiling the children.
Yes. Yes.
Certainly nothing to suggest that there was any abuse or anything like that. It was just a matter of fact.
Correct. Correct.
Mr. O'Keefe had an idea about how to raise children that was maybe a little bit more modest than Ms. Read did.
Correct.
So you described earlier at another hearing, you described a situation in which Ms. Read got a very expensive sweater for Mr. O'Keefe's niece.
Correct.
And Mr. O'Keefe's response was, well, I wish she hadn't done that. That's spoiling that little girl.
Yes.
You would agree there are worse things in the world than spoiling a child.
Correct.
I'll let it stand.
You never heard Mr. O'Keefe even hint at the idea of breaking up with Ms. Read.
Not that I can recall.
I want to turn your attention to January 28th, if I could. We saw a video and you explained what was happening in the video where some cars were being jostled around. That was Mr. O'Keefe actually moving his car to facilitate Ms. Reed bringing her car over to his house, put it in the garage, correct?
Yes.
Kind of a chivalrous thing to do for your loved one.
Yes.
Didn't want her to be out in the snow if it was going to be a heavy snow. Is that right?
Correct.
And the idea was that even that weekend, he intended that Ms. Reed would like to be with him and the family for the entirety of the weekend during that blizzard.
Correct.
So she'd have a nice warm place and a dry place to put her car.
Yes.
You saw a video that Mr. Lally played for you of the moment. There are several videos, but I want to direct your attention, your memory, to the video of when Ms. Reed actually made her way into McCarthy's.
Yes.
You have that scene in your mind?
Yes.
You saw in the video when Ms. Reed actually walked into the location how Ms. Reed and Mr. O'Keefe greeted each other.
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Correct?
Yes.
It appeared that that was quite an affectionate greeting. Did you agree?
Objection.
Do you agree with that?
They kissed me.
Would you consider a kiss affectionate?
Yes.
They hugged each other, correct?
I don't recall.
Mr. O'Keefe put his right arm out and Ms. Reed sort of nestled into his embrace.
Okay.
And that's when he kissed her?
Yes.
Okay. They seemed happy to see each other.
Yes.
You didn't observe while you were at CF McCarthy's with them, you didn't observe any arguing or bickering between the two of them?
No.
As a matter of fact, they were sort of the normal, affectionate, laughing, happy couple that you were used to seeing, correct?
Yes.
There didn't seem to be any tension between them at CF McCarthy's, is that right?
Not that I recall.
All right. I want to just ask a couple of more questions. During the span of time that you knew them to be together, would you describe their relationship as being normal and caring?
Objection.
I'll sustain that.
I want to just draw your attention to the month before Mr. O'Keefe's passing. Would you describe their relationship to be normal as far as you knew it to be?
Yes.
And on the day before Mr. O'Keefe's passing, would you describe their interactions to be normal and caring and affectionate?
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Anything, Mr. Lally?
No redirect, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Camerano, thank you very much. You're all set, sir. All right, jurors, why don't we take our morning recess? We'll take 15, 20 minutes.
Jurors, if you'd fold and close your notebooks, placing them on the chairs, taking your belongings. All rise, jury out.
Mr. Lally?
Your Honor, the Commonwealth call Miss Catherine Camerano.
Okay, after her, I'm ending it. Let me go. Unless she talks slow, I will fast forward.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the evidence you have recorded during the case that is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you.
Slide right up and close
I'll
the
be
door.
back. I'm
Place it
smoking.
close to that microphone. and speak.
I'll be in the chat.
Thank you.
Okay, whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name?
Catherine Camerano, Camerano,
And where do you live?
Canton.
And how long have you lived in Canton?
Probably about since 2005, maybe 20 years. 2005, I think.
And who, if anyone, you live in Canton with?
My husband, Michael, and my two children.
And how old are you?
Right now, 13 and 16.
And starting with the 16-year-old, is that a boy or a girl?
Girl,
And the 13-year-old, is that a boy or a girl?
boy.
And as far as activities are concerned with your kids, do they play sports or do they do other sorts of activities?
They play sports. Yep.
And which sports does your 16-year-old daughter play?
Currently, right now, softball.
And has she played any other sports in the past?
She played soccer. She played hockey for a little bit, but mostly soccer and softball.
And your 13-year-old son, what if any sports?
Hockey and baseball.
Now, do you work, ma'am?
I do.
What do you do?
I'm a nurse.
And how long have you been working as a nurse?
21 years.
And your husband, does he work?
He does.
And what does he do?
He's a laborer.
And how long has he been doing that?
Probably 25, maybe even 30 years, actually.
And how long have the two of you been together?
Married?
Yeah.
20 years? 20 years. 2004.
Now, ma'am, if I could turn your attention to January 28th, 2022 into January 29th, 2022. Do you recall those couple days?
Yeah.
And do you recall what days of the week they were?
It was Friday into Saturday night.
And starting with the Friday of the 28th, were you working that day?
I was working that night.
And sort of typically what kind of shift do you work as
I work 7 p to 7 a, nights, mostly weekends.
the weekends would be sort of typically when you'd be at work?
Yes.
And around this time of January 2022, when you were at work, do you know what sort of your husband and your children would be doing typically on like a Friday night?
Friday night they went to Johnny's house a lot, and the kids hung out, and they all just hung out together on a Friday night.
Now, starting with Johnny, who you refer to, you mean John O'Keefe, is that correct?
Yes.
How is it that you came to know John?
My husband got introduced to him, and then the girls started hanging out probably 2018, fourth grade. The boys around the same time when he moved to Meadows, probably around that time.
And so Mr. O'Keefe, he had a niece and a nephew of who he was a guardian, is that correct?
Correct.
And he had a niece named Kaylee and a nephew named Patrick, correct?
Correct.
And they lived with him, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, with regard to his niece Kaylee and your daughter, how do they know each other?
They first met on the soccer team, probably soccer. Yes, they met soccer fourth grade. Or was it it could have been basketball. She played basketball when she was that little, Madeline. Basketball team, fourth or fifth grade. And then quickly by the fifth, sixth grade, they were like best friends attached to the hip.
And as far as Mr. O'Keefe's nephew Patrick, in relation to your son, were they the same age as well?
They were. They played baseball together.
And outside of baseball, were they friendly as well?
Yes.
And so a typical Friday night would be you were at work and your husband and the kids would go over to Mr. O'Keefe's house.
Correct.
You knew where Mr. O'Keefe's house was?
Yes.
And where was that?
On Meadows Ave.
About how far away from your house was Mr. O'Keefe's house on one Meadows Ave?
Maybe 2 miles, maybe. I don't know.
So fairly short distance?
Yes.
Now, with regard to this specific Friday night, January 28th, you were at work and you know what sort of the plan was with reference to the rest of your family?
Michael, my son was going to play with a friend of his, a school play in the town, and Michael was going to Johnny's with Madeline, my daughter, and they were going to hang out there for the night, and Michael and Johnny were going to potentially go out.
Now, with reference to your daughter and Mr. O'Keefe's niece, Kaylee, what, if anything, around, specifically to that day, what, if anything, was sort of going on with them and their school?
They had just got into Bishop Ian High School that day.
And at this time in January 2022, what grade were they in?
They were in 8th. They were going into 9th that September.
And so they had been accepted to this private school, Bishop Ian, and got their acceptance letters that day?
Yep.
And what, if any, conversations do you recall having with Mr. O'Keefe in reference to that on that day?
They were just really excited about it. Everyone was really excited that they just got in.
Now, at some point, well, beyond sort of, if you could just sort of describe the nature of your relationship, and by you, I'm using the plural as far as you and your husband, with regard to Mr. O'Keefe.
He was our friend. He was really good to me and my kids.
And as far as the kids were concerned, what, if any, sort of interplay did you have with regard to his kids, and he have with regard to you?
I worked weekends, and he would take my kids to sporting. I would do a lot of the stuff during the week if I was around the practices, and him and my husband would always do the games. The kids used to call them my two dads. It was like they had a lot of fun together. It was like a well-oiled machine.
Now, through your friendship with Mr. O'Keefe, at some point did you come to know someone by the name of Karen Reed?
Yes.
And who was Karen Reed in relation to Mr. O'Keefe?
She was his girlfriend.
And just to be clear, when we're talking about Karen Reed, do you see Ms. Reed in the courtroom?
I do.
Could you just identify as to where she's seated or an article?
Yeah, she's right there.
No, just ask the record reflect identification with anybody.
Yes.
Now, with regard to the defendant, Ms. Reed, prior to this date of January 28th, 2022, about how long had you known her?
Whenever they started dating, probably 2 years. During COVID. When was COVID? Yeah, probably 2 years.
So
right.
Sometime during the COVID pandemic, you met her?
Yeah. Yep.
And as far as you were aware, did she live with Mr. O'Keefe and the children, or did she have somewhere else?
No, she had a house in Mansfield, but she stayed at Meadows a lot.
And so during the course around this time of January 2022, general time, about how often would you see Mr. O'Keefe?
Probably 3 days a week, I would say.
And sort of typically when you would see him, would that be sort of at a game or at your house?
Anything, drop off, pick up, his
I
house,
don't even know why they
games,
called her.
anything.
Like She
Now,
didn't
as
go
far
the
as
night
Mr.
before.
O'Keefe and Ms. Reed were concerned with regard to you and your husband,
Okay, I'm
what, if
speaking
any,
you up.
socialization did you have sort of outside of the kids?
Yeah, we went out to eat. We went to a comedy show. I would socialize with them.
About how often would you do that?
Well, the kids were around mostly, but maybe a few times. I feel like the kids were usually always around.
Now, at some point, did you become aware that your husband and Mr. O'Keefe had gone out that evening?
Yes.
And how did you become aware of that?
I don't know. Either Michael told me or my daughter told me. One of them told me.
That's
I
your
forget
thing.
who.
And do you know where your husband went that night?
I don't remember if he told me exactly where he went.
And at some point, you're still at work. You're working an overnight. Is that correct?
Yes,
And the rest of your family, being your husband and the kids, they came home at some point.
they did.
And how do you know sort of when or how they came home?
I have an alarm on my house, so I know when somebody opens the door. I can check at work, and it alerts me if the door is open, if the alarm is on, off, who puts it on, who puts it off, what doors are open, when the alarm is rearmed, and if I usually don't allow sleepovers, and even if I did, my husband would have called me at work.
So fair to say there's a rule within your house that sleepovers don't happen unless you approve.
Yeah.
Now, at some point, I'm going to turn your attention now to the morning of the 29th. At some point, while you were at work, did you receive a call from someone?
Yes,
And who, if anyone, called?
Karen.
And about what time was that?
Probably between 4 and 5.
And what, if anything, did the defendant say to you when she called you around 4 or 5 in the morning?
She was just screaming, "Where's Mike? Where's Mike?"
And was that a typical sort of situation that you would get a call from the defendant at that time?
No, not at all.
And the screaming that you heard, or the phraseology of "Where's Mike," is that something she said once or more than once or something?
She just kept saying it. She just kept saying, "Where's Mike?"
And what, if anything, did you say in response to that?
I was just like, hold on, calm down. And as I was doing, I was rechecking like the alarm. I said, he's home with the kids. Let me call him. And at some point I hung up. I called my husband, like, I don't know, probably it felt like 100 times.
Now, you're working when you get this call, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you recall sort of where you were, what you were doing when you got the call?
I was getting ready to draw like morning lab. So I knew it was between like 4 and 5 a.m. somewhere
As
early
far as
morning.
this sort of screaming, as far as "Where's Mike," what, if anything, did the defendant indicate as to why she was asking?
John didn't come home.
And from your knowledge of John O'Keefe, was that something that was normal or no?
No.
Now, during this sort of initial call with the defendant, what, if anything, did you hear sort of in the background of that call?
That first call, I don't think I heard anything in that.
Your memory exhausted as to that?
Yeah, I don't remember it.
May I approach you with this?
Yes.
And ma'am, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the document before you.
Mhm.
I'm going to direct your attention to this second paragraph on the page. If you could just read that to yourself.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't know if that was the.
Anything further, may I approach
Yep.
this with you now?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
And so, Ms. Camerano, after reading what I just placed before you, is your memory refreshed as to what, if anything, you heard in the background?
Yeah. I could hear Kaylee in the background.
And you hang up on that call, and then what did you do?
Call Michael. And
At any point when you're calling Michael, I think you said you felt like it was about 100 times, did your husband Michael answer the phone?
he never answered. No.
And so after you called your husband many times, he didn't answer. What did you do?
I called either Karen's phone or Kaylee's phone back. I texted John, I think, twice. And then I could, whoever's phone I called, I could hear Jen in the background, that someone had called Jen too.
So you were speaking on the phone with either the defendant or Kaylee, correct?
Yep.
And you could hear someone named Jen in the background.
Yep, I could hear her in the background.
And when you say you could hear someone,
Like it sounded, sorry,
so just as far as Jen, who is that?
Jen McCabe. She was one of Madeline's basketball coaches, so I know her voice.
Heard her sort of voice on the sideline.
Yeah, yep.
Did you know her personally at all?
I knew her as Madeline's coach.
And at some point you were talking to Kaylee on the phone, correct?
Yes.
And what is it that you were saying, Kaylee? That
I was just saying to her, is everybody okay? And she said they're going to go out looking for him. I think she said they were going to go out looking, or she went out, she's going to go out. No one knows where he is. And then I think I like hung up with her. And then at some point I maybe texted Kaylee or called, and I said, is Karen out alone? And she said, no, she's with Jen and Kerry. So I said, okay, as long as they're not alone.
Now, the second phone call, you're talking to Kaylee and you can hear the defendant talking to Ms. McCabe, is that correct?
Yes.
And you hear one side of the conversation or both sides of the conversation?
I don't really recall exactly. I felt like it was just like a lot of like screaming, like he's not home. I don't really recall 100%.
But as far as the screaming that you heard that he's not home, do you recall whose voice that was that you heard saying that?
It was Karen.
And beyond that, as far as the conversation that you overheard, what, if anything, specific about that conversation in addition to that do you recall?
I don't.
And while these phone calls are going on, again, you're at work, correct?
Correct.
So what is it that you're doing sort of in relation to your job while these phone calls are going down?
I'm trying to like in between draw labs for my patients, and then I'm like going in the back room, texting or calling, and then I'd go back out to the desk, out to the patients.
You mentioned that the defendant was sort of screaming when she was talking to you on the phone and you heard her in the background when you talked to Kaylee.
Yep.
Could you describe sort of, or how would you describe sort of her, and by her, I mean the defendant's demeanor while you heard her on the phone?
She was just like frantically screaming, just screaming. Where's Mike?
Now, during this time, you're sort of working, you're dealing with patients, and you're going back and forth with patients on the phone. And in addition to speaking on the phone with the defendant and then with Kaylee, who, if anyone else, did you reach out to or did you talk to at that point?
I talked to Carrie Roberts in the morning at some point. I don't know if I called her or she called me. And she said that I think that he was going to the hospital. And then I called my husband and told him that Kaylee was home alone and that he should go get her because she was at the house alone.
Is it your understanding that your husband, Michael, then went to Meadows to pick up Kaylee?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sorry.
Now, you mentioned at some point you spoke to Carrie Roberts, is that correct?
Yes.
How do you know Carrie Roberts?
I've known her since high school.
And as far as you grew up in the same town, is that correct?
No, I was friends with her cousin. So I had known her. And I've always known her. I've been friends with her for a while.
Just one moment, John.
Sure.
May I approach the witness, John?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as Exhibit 48. And before I do that, I just need to show counsel showing you. May I approach, John?
Yes.
Showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 48, specifically on page 22. With respect to that white box sort of towards the top of the page, you see a listing as sort of participants of that conversation?
Yes.
That's a text conversation?
Yes.
And who is sort of listed as the participant within that conversation?
Katie Camerano and JJ.
And is JJ another sort of name or nickname for John O'Keefe?
Yep.
And the content, there's two blue bubbles on the bottom of that page, is that correct?
Correct.
And do you recognize the content of those bubbles?
Yes.
And what do you recognize those?
My text messages to him.
Those are text messages you just testified about as far as sending to John that morning.
Correct.
And both of them are from you with no response from Mr. O'Keefe.
Correct.
And about what time are the two text messages sent to Mr. O'Keefe according to that document?
5:10.
May I approach this retrieve now?
Yes.
Mhm.
Now, Ms. Camerano, you had mentioned in your testimony that you had some phone calls or conversations with Ms. Reed on the morning of January 29th, correct?
Correct.
May I approach January?
Yes.
Showing you the document there.
Mhm.
Ask that you look at that and look up when you finish.
Yep.
And that document, do those seem to reflect the calls that you had between yourself and the defendant, Ms. Reed, on that morning of the 29th?
Yeah.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sure. Could I please see that?
Thank you.
And so, Ms. Camerano, from that document, does that seem to be the phone calls and the timing of the phone calls between yourself and Ms. Reed that morning?
Okay. Yes.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm going to introduce in a minute the next exhibit.
Any objection, Mr. Jackson?
Not at this time.
All right, thank you.
Showing that to you, which is now marked as exhibit 51. Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would request to publish that here on the screen.
Okay.
I think it's pretty funny that Cellbrite only works for when the state wants to use it, but say it doesn't work for the fucking defense. That's shit's crazy to me.
Thank you, Ms. Camerano.
Thank you, Madam Court Reporter.
And I'm sorry, Ms. Camerano, if you could please just see if you can mark that as a rule.
Mr. Lally, keep your voice up and step aside so all jurors can see this, please.
Yes. Just before we get to what's up on the screen, is that what you have before you, like exhibit 51?
Yes.
No, Ms. Camerano, starting from sort of as far as the order of these, do you see sort of to and from and sort of date times on there?
Yes.
And does it appear as if the earlier times are sort of towards the bottom and then it goes on in time and chronology towards the top?
Yes.
Ms. Camerano, if you could scroll to sort of the bottom of the box. Now, with reference to essentially there are 6 boxes, am I correct in that?
Correct.
And with regard to box 6, if you could just tell the jury sort of.
It says 1/29/2022, 4:49 a.m. to Katie Camerano, answered 2 minutes and 51 seconds.
And the box above that, number 5.
From, it looks like I called her at 4:56 on 1/29 for 2 minutes and 57 seconds, answered.
And the box above that, number 4, please.
I called her 5 a.m., 2 minutes and 4 seconds, answered. And then I called her again at 5:32 for 8 seconds. That was answered. And then I called her again at 5:34, was missed. At 5:34 was missed. And then I called her again at 6:44 and 49 seconds, and that was not answered.
Thank you. And approach just to retrieve, Your Honor.
Yes.
You can take that down.
Thank you.
And the missed calls probably mean that it went to
Now, with
voicemail.
respect,
Let them tell it didn't.
Cameron, your testimony that in addition to the phone calls that you had with the defendant, you also had some text back and forth that morning as well.
Correct.
Stop it.
And Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Ms. Cameron, show me the document. Asking if you could just take a look at that and look up when you finish.
Yep.
And do you recognize what that what's in that document?
Yes.
What do you recognize it?
It's my text to Karen.
And with respect to the sort of first page of that, is there also similar to the ones I showed you with regard to Mr. O'Keefe? Is there a listing as far as the participants in that conversation?
Yes.
And who does it say?
It's Karen Reed and Katie Camerano.
May I approach again?
Yes.
I'm about to take introduce in a minute. Is it?
No objection, Mr. Jackson?
No objection, Your
All
Honor.
right, thank you.
Cameron, I'm returning what's now been marked as Exhibit 52 to you. And Your Honor, with court permission, I would publish this on the screen for the jury as well.
Okay.
Now, Ms. Camerano, if I could direct your attention to sort of content of this, there's blue bubbles and green bubbles, is that correct?
Correct.
And is there an indication on there as far as who the message is from and who the message is to?
The blue bubbles would be me texting Karen.
And if you could, starting with the first bubble on page 1, if you could just describe to the jury, and we'll go through it, as far as who the text is from and what the content is.
That's from me. I'm asking Karen, are you okay?
And Ms. Cameron, if you could scroll down. And this next bubble.
Go back home so you're safe with Kaylee. He will end up home. I bet he's on someone's couch.
And the next bubble down, Ms. Cameron.
What's going on, Karen?
scroll down a little further, Ms. Bell.
I'm driving around with Carrie and Jen.
And this is the text that you received from
From-
the to yourself.
Yes.
And is there a time on that associated with when that text was sent?
Um, I can't read that from there. 5:53, does it say?
5:53 a.m. Is that correct?
5:53, yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down to the next message.
Okay, is one of them driving?
And just to be clear, this is you texting.
I'm texting Karen, yes. Is one of them driving? And then,
And why were you texting that? Or why were you concerned about that?
because she was so hysterical, I didn't want her driving.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down to the next message. And what if any responses received in this week?
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you could, scroll down to the next.
And I said, okay, keep me posted.
Gilman, if you could scroll down.
At his brother's or mom's, ? Or the station he works at.
Both of those messages, about what time were those?
6 a.m.
And what if any, Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down, and then what if any responses from the defendant this week following those texts?
I don't think so. His bro is in West Bridgewater, W Bridgewater.
Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down again. Next message, ma'am.
Right, I'm sorry, I'm just brainstorming.
The next green bubble, ma'am.
It's okay.
And the blue bubble below that.
Any luck?
And that was a text you sent at approximately what time, ma'am?
6:34.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down to that. And what was,
He's dead.
and again, what time did you receive that text message from Ms.
6:34.
Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down. Yeah,
What, Karen? Are you serious?
that's the blue bubble, your response to her last statement.
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down again.
And then, Karen, do you have any idea where he is, or did you find him?
Last thing, Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down one more time.
He was in the snow.
And that last message that you received, what time was that?
That was at 6:36.
Ms. Gilman, you can take that down. And Mr. Rosser, if you could collect that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm okay. My back's killing.
Following that text message, the last one about 6:34 a.m., what if any other communication did you have with the defendant that morning?
Nothing.
What if any other communication did you have with the defendant since then?
None.
Now, as far as any of the other people that you spoke of, as far as talking to that morning, Ms. Roberts or
Shush.
Kelly, did you have any further conversation with them in regard to what was going on?
No.
Shush.
If I may have just 1 moment, Your Honor. Nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
All right. Cross-examination?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. To Mr. Lally last point, after that series of text messages that you had early in the morning on January 29th, 2022, you said you didn't hear from Ms. Reed or didn't have any communication with her after that. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Did you reach out to her text message wise?
No.
Okay. Were you aware that her phone had been seized shortly thereafter from her?
No.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, Ms. Camerano. Oh, there's nothing else, Mr. Lally, right? All right, Ms. Camerano, you're all set. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. Okay, I am done for the night. Thank you very much for everybody that came and hit the like button, shared the live, chatted in my chat. I appreciate it. I will be back tomorrow for the rest of day 7 and 8. Day 8 of the KARENREAD trial. This case is wild. Anyways, and next week her jury selection starts on April Fool's Day. So I will be watching that. Oh my gosh. Anyways, so as always, like I end this, let the ones that you love and care about know that that you love and care about them, because tomorrow's not promised. And everybody stay blessed. Bye.
Put your eyes on me, like the spotlight. Recognize the showing love and got my grind right. Ain't never since day one the love been on side. And since you got my back, I got your back for life. Yeah, pretty honesty. Know just what it is, I got it on me. And you hold me down, you like my homie. Just know I got you, dog, just what it gon' be. Definition of bestie, definition of friendship, definition of rider, definition relentless. She's a strong woman, she's a sweet lady, she's a great mother. Let your pain get aching. Yeah, I made that girl on YouTube. She never dissed my light or put me in her dark mood. And I thank you, you appreciate. You're my favorite girl on YouTube, and I can't fake it. You still got faith in me, make me feel like big. DJ Khaled voice, pretty hot. You still got faith in me, make me feel like big. DJ Khaled voice, pretty hot. Met a little shawty on this show called BDP, you know what I'm talking about? Shit. We been cool ever since, my nigga, you know what I'm talking about? Put your eyes on me, like the spotlight. Recognize me showing love, done got my grind right. Ain't never since day one the love been on side. And since you got my back, I got your back for life. Yeah, pretty honesty. Know just what it is, I got it on me. And you hold me down, you like my homie. Just know I got you, dog, just what it gon' be. Yeah, yeah.